Hey, Bill, how's your battery stuff going? Did you build a battery for your e-bike? You're muted.
No, I didn't. I ended up buying one off eBay. It was a modular lithium pack for $115 that fit in the slot on the bike.
Had a BMS?
I assume it does.
That's
Hasn't
pretty
caught fire
cheap.
yet.
Yeah, that's really cheap.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember what the capacity was. I'll go grab another battery that I bought. One second.
Okay.
I bought this battery off eBay also, and you can see how big it is, right? It's not that bit heavy.
Right.
And I don't think it has 2,800 milliamp hours worth of energy in it. It's just, I think it's too small. I think they're misrepresenting what the capacity is.
Yeah, 28 amp hours is a lot for
Yeah.
30 volts.
It's a 24 volt or 29. It says 29 volts on it.
Yeah.
But I could put this on one of my electric, this maybe two of these on one of my electric bikes and see how far I can go.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I have to tell you, I stopped by the bike barn a day or so ago, and they're selling these extraordinarily expensive electric bikes. I didn't even ask how much money they cost.
Yeah.
And they're only pedal assist. There's no throttle.
Right.
And I wish them luck. But I'm
Yeah,
sure there are people out there that are willing to pay thousands of dollars. Anyway,
yeah, they're like
I'll stop
four.
talking now.
Yeah, they're like $4,000, $4 or $5,000.
Well, I'm the proud owner of four electric bikes now. I've lost my head.
Awesome.
No, you're supporting the industry. That's good.
I
Yeah.
looked for them on Facebook Marketplace, and the best deal was one for $75
Wow.
that needed a battery. And
Is it one of those folding ones?
no, they're not folding ones.
Okay.
I could show a picture of them, but anyway,
They're all like 36 volt, something like that?
no, they're all 24 volts.
Hmm.
There's two Curry bikes, and you know the Curry bike has a motor out the side and a 24 volt pack that lives like a saddlebag on the rear, left and right, and there's two of them. You know, so in theory you could really store a lot of energy for a long distance.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You can take it to the beach.
Why?
Why not? Ride up and down Galveston. You
Well,
know,
they don't have those fat tires or whatever you call them.
that's okay. I took one of my old Raleighs out there and rode up and down the beach. It was great.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe I'll get down to Galveston sometime.
So folks are continuing to join here, so we'll really start the meeting. But yeah, it's always great to hear about projects. I'll ask about those at the end as well. So, and I also see as each person joins, I see at the bottom of their picture joining audio, so I know it takes even a little bit longer for the audio to connect. But I'm glad to see we have one rep from Kandi already and one rep from Lonestar SV, SV standing for Specialty Vehicles.
Hey there, I'm Beth. I represent Kandi. Johnny Ty will be speaking with all of you shortly, so we're looking forward to it.
Yep, we're looking forward to hearing from Johnny. So as we agreed, Kandi will be our second speaker. and we'll let the Lone Star folks go first. I see Charles is on there.
And I believe we'll have Blake as well. He may join here in a little bit. I know he's got some family in town, so I don't know if he'll have a commitment with them or not.
All righty. Yeah, that sounds good.
And Dave, you're going to be recording this so we can send it to other people, is that right?
Correct. We are already recording. I was going to remind folks that when we started to talk about more things. So yes, and thanks to Colin, we are able to have our recordings and slides on our website. I think it refers to them on our Facebook site, but you can actually go to our website and get them.
That worked out really well for me. I've got a friend in Colorado that I very much wanted to show our last meeting to, and he enjoyed it. So, or at least I think he did. I haven't had a chance to talk to him since, but it was most important.
Very good, very good. Yeah, we're all learning things with the switch over from in-person meetings, where of course we did some Skypes and things like that to enable remote speakers to talk, but now we've gone entirely to Zoom, like a lot of the country. Seeing more faces pop up, that's great. And one of the things that Zoom is now required is that we have a waiting room. You might all remember from earlier meetings since we started, we didn't have that, but that's been a security enhancement that
Yeah, the option is either a waiting room or a password.
right, and I kind of figured it would get more complicated with the password. I just need to stay on top of it. So if I stop in the middle of the sentence, it might be because I saw another name pop up and I'm wanting to click people in just as quickly as I can here. So Charles, just hang in there and we'll get to you. Yeah, thumbs up, good. Get to you in a minute, but as I said, we had 74 on the registration list. We're up to 20 participants now. We started with about 7 when I first saw. So yeah, it's always
I tried to set a virtual, I got my solar panels installed 2 weeks ago.
Oh, great.
And I tried to set a virtual background of today's generation. So I took a screenshot and tried to set it as my background, but it doesn't look like it worked.
It doesn't look like solar panels. It looks like maybe some glass behind you, but not solar.
Yeah, no, I was sitting on the back porch.
Oh, very good, very good.
You know, Friday night, tomorrow night starts Sukkot, which is the next Jewish holiday. So I put my Sukkah together, which you've got 5 days between the end of Yom Kippur and the start of Sukkot to get your Sukkah together. And it's such a lovely evening, I figured I'd sit out here on the back porch.
Very good, very good. And are your solar panels mounted on the roof of the house, or are they?
They're on the roof of the house.
Okay. Very good.
Today they generated, what did they generate? 48.8 kilowatt hours.
Ah, very good. I like hearing numbers like that.
Yeah.
And
Who
of course,
did the install?
Say again, who did the Sunshine Renewables?
What's the array
So
size?
if you remember a couple of months ago, Solar United Neighbors came to our meeting and they talked about their co-ops. I joined their West co-op and actually volunteered to be on the selection committee.
oh, very good.
And I'm the first install out of the West co-op.
Ah, very good.
Because I basically had everything ready to go the moment we had our installer chosen.
Mm-hmm.
Seth, this is Yen
Yeah.
Winrabe. I'm considering solar power too, solar panels.
Yes.
And so I would like to talk to you about that. Could we, I don't know if we could talk now or later about the
I think
solar
we should
power.
talk.
Yeah, we can stay on as long as we want to. This is our Zoom, and so I would suggest that the two of you stay on to the very end, and that way.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's talk later.
Okay.
Yeah, Dave,
because tomorrow I'm having someone come over to finalize a contract, but I think it would be good to
Oh,
talk
so
to
you're
him
pretty
first.
far. You're pretty far along.
Far along, yeah, I am.
Good,
Uh-huh.
good.
But I'd
Yeah.
like to hear what
It
how-
would-
what's
it would
your
be
deal?
good for us to talk about solar towards the end, because I think a lot of us are doing it. I'm actually started with Tesla Solar, and I had a few questions I wanted to ask the group.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, let's be sure.
Okay, so we'll have an add-on topic after the second speaker.
Right, right. Yeah, as we know, a lot of folks are interested in the electricity for their EVs coming from solar. And I'm also on the board of the Houston Renewable Energy Group, as well as following what Solar United Neighbors is doing. So yeah, let's do that. We've got 21 folks on now, so let's start getting into EVs. So lots of news during this previous month since our last meeting. Folks here might have watched about Battery Day from Tesla, and also heard about the announcement that California, based on what the governor said, is planning on not allowing gasoline car sales after 2035. So that's really going to push the demand for EVs. Of course, California is pretty much already leading the U.S. And so yeah, it looks like the 21 folks I see so far have all gotten audio to join. I don't see any of those words at the bottom, still audio to joining. So that is good. And so I ask folks in general to mute unless you're ready to talk. You can ask questions anytime of our speakers, and in particular, a good way to do it is to put them in the chat. So I see that there's already 2 comments in the chat, which is good. Let's see, I've got to switch over from, my computer's being slow here, switch from the participant list to the chat. Okay. All right. All right, so from Mike and Sigrid, I see 5 years with a Tesla, great, okay. Yeah, sometimes we have conflicts with meetings. And so there's a question also from Jason, has anyone else reserved a Volkswagen ID4 after the reveal? Okay. So those are things that we can talk about. Also, I want to ask members to think about our December meeting. Traditionally, we have a social in December where we get together in person. So I'm going to ask people to let me know what their opinions are on that. We might do it by way of a poll. We'll see. I've done a poll before. Yeah, so there's just too much news obviously going on to talk much about that. We'll get right to our first speaker, Chas Mease. And you said, Charles, that Blake may also be coming on. I don't see him on yet, but anytime he comes on.
Yeah, I don't see him either. I know he had to pick his dad up at the airport. His dad was coming in from Wisconsin, so they might have gotten tied up with some family time. So
Okay.
I think I should be able to handle it. If there's any follow-up from the group that I can't answer, I'll be sure to get with Blake.
Okay, very good. And yeah, I think one of you is fantastic. 2 would be better, but 1 is fine. And so you've got some slides, which let's just go ahead and let you share your screen to start with. And so I'm clicking on multiple participants can share here. And so that should allow you to do that. So go ahead, take it away, Charles.
All right, let me know when we look good here.
It's transitioning, and I see Lonestar SV electric.
All right, perfect. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm coming actually to you from Ann Arbor, Michigan. I was moved around quite a bit in my prior job with a logistics company. And as you may know from the name, Lonestar is obviously not a Michigan company. We're a Texas-based company, but I'm right outside of Ann Arbor, Michigan. So thank you to Dave, and thank you to the rest of the members for taking the time tonight so that we can talk to you a little bit about our product. So some of the things we'll cover this evening, we'll talk a little bit about our parent company, TNTX Truck, give you an overview of our company, how we support our customers with infrastructure, also how we can support them in other ways, our drivetrain and design considerations, which I think you all will really enjoy, and technology. So Lonestar Specialty Vehicles is actually owned by TNTX Truck. It's a conglomerate of Lonestar Truck Group and Tag Truck Centers. we're a traditional Freightliner Western Star dealership group as far as parts, sales, labor, over-the-road heavy-duty equipment. So we're just shy of about $1 billion a year in revenue, and we're the second largest footprint in North America. So you can see the range primarily across the southern part of the United States. Lone Star Specialty Vehicles is certainly new to the electric space, but we're definitely not new to assembling vehicles. So we were actually founded in 2014, and we started actually by assembling Class 8 glider kits and distributing them through our dealerships. So if you don't know what a glider kit is, it's could be a day cab or sleeper cab over-the-road truck that comes in without axles, without a transmission, without an engine, just a rolling chassis. And then we install the axles and transmission and everything else. So due to EPA regulations, that's going to be phasing out at the end of this year because they don't have after treatment on them. But it was a way for folks that didn't want to upgrade to the new Tier 4 emission systems, that they could still get a truck with, maybe a Series 60, Detroit engine or an older Cummins engine that was remanufactured, which is kind of funny when you look at where we're building trucks with no emission system on it, and now we're building electric vehicles. So it's kind of funny when you think about it that way, but we knew that was going to phase out. So that's when we actually got into terminal tractor remanufacturing. You'll see I have a timeline that'll show in the next slide kind of when we got started. See, in the first couple of years, we just kind of dabbled in a little bit as far as customer requests. And then 2016, 2017 was when we had some larger fleets come to us, and we really had to refine our process. So to date, we've done about 3,000 glider kits, a little over 300 diesel terminal tractors. And we were going to start full production of our EVs in March, but we all know why we're doing a Zoom meeting instead of in face and what happened in March. So we're actually starting full production now, taking orders. And we actually, over the next 3 years, we actually have right now over about 150 already pre-ordered. So very, very early on and having a lot of excitement and success so far in this industry. We are based in Texarkana, Texas. We have about 11-acre facility there and just shy of about 100 employees.
Oh, quite sizable. Good.
This is the timeline that I had mentioned. So you can see 2014, 15, really not a lot going on there. That was when we were pumping out a lot of those glider kits. And then 2016, 2017 was when we got some major fleet orders. In 2017, I was actually working at XPO Logistics, and we sent the 40 units to Lone Star, and that's actually how I met these guys. So I've known them for quite a while before actually I came to work for them. That's when we realized we had to get an assembly line production style because we were getting, all of our trucks are remanufactured, so we're not building new yet. So we realized when we would get a truck that could be, could be a 1999 capacity, and then the next truck could be a 2005 Ottawa, we had to have a repeatable process that we could put out to the customer, and we could warranty it, and it would look the same every single time, minus the frame and the boom structure being different. And that's the only components that we reuse when we do the remanufacturing process on the diesel or on the electric side. We'll completely tear the truck down just to the frame. We send it out to get sandblasted and powder coated. When we bring it back in, all new components, our own proprietary cab, as well as electrical and drivetrain systems. And we did that because primarily, the Tier 4 emissions yard tractors, they have a lot of idle time, and they really don't get up to temperature to regen. So they're very expensive to operate from a maintenance cost per hour with the emission system on it. And just like the glider kits, we knew that remanufacturing a terminal truck wasn't going to be the kind of the end-all answer. We wanted to have an electric vehicle, and it all came down to, though, who are we going to partner with, and how are we going to do this? So we had already been acquiring axles from Dana Incorporated. I'm sure most of you, if you haven't heard of Dana, they're primarily known for building axles. But over about the last year and a half, they've spent quite a bit of money acquiring electric drivetrain component companies, from the motor, inverter, battery packs, and integration, et cetera. So we contacted them and said, hey, we want to build this. Can we partner with you? And it all worked out well. We started last year in the spring, designing and engineering the truck, and we delivered the first one to HEB in November of 2019 at their San Antonio facility. And it ran there from November until June. And actually, I was just down in Texarkana last week. We were putting some production parts on it, so that way everything will be the same. So it was very successful. For all of you that live in Texas, you're very familiar with HEB. Me being a Yankee, when they said HEB, I didn't know who HEB was. I'm familiar with Kroger and Meyer and things like that. But when it comes to sustainability, when it comes to electrification and being more efficient, I so far have not seen a more sophisticated and knowledgeable customer yet. Recently this year, we announced a partnership with InCharge Energy Solutions. So InCharge is a company that does turnkey infrastructure solutions. So a lot of the fleets that we talk to aren't as sophisticated as an HEB, so they need support. They're not utility experts, they're not infrastructure experts, and a lot of times your fleet managers aren't talking to your facility managers, and it can be difficult to have that roadmap of how you're going to implement these vehicles. So we're actually the only yard tractor OEM that offers this, to where we can come in with a full proposal to take care of all the infrastructure for that fleet. One thing I'll mention with that too is, it can be a heavy capital investment, especially when you get to multiple chargers and multiple vehicles. So one of the kind of creative financing solutions that we have with that partnership with InCharge is we call it electrification as a service. So rather than a large capital expenditure for, sawing concrete and possibly upgrading infrastructure, they absorb and we absorb the cost of that and pay for it. And then there's a monthly operating expense each month. Almost think of it like leasing a vehicle, rather than having that upfront capital. I know I'm going kind of fast here, so if there's questions, feel free to jump in. All right. So as far as what we really pride ourselves on, and I think differentiates us from some of the other players, is the customer support that we provide. We have a 24/7 customer support center, and what I was really impressed about when I joined the Lonestar team was that they're all industry professionals. So they're not, when you call in with a problem, a diagnostic code, or you're maybe having an issue with the truck, these are all former ASE master technicians, parts managers, service advisors. That they're not really reading a script. They can talk the same language as that fleet manager, as that technician that's calling in with a problem. We can also next day parts anywhere through that solution center. And we recently just finished a training with Michigan Tech University and their engineering services lab. So they brought down, I was actually talking with Dave last week when I was down there. They brought a 53-foot trailer that's a full mobile lab that had like a pop out, almost like a fancy RV, full classroom. We did a battery pack tear down. We did a tear down of a hybrid transmission. They brought four hybrid vehicles and one fully electric. We couldn't take the electric on the road because it wasn't licensed, but we got to have our techs. They bugged the vehicles, and then our techs had to use what they learned previously with CAN communication and go in and figure out what the problem was and how to fix it. So it was a really, really great training exercise to see a battery pack that is longer than I can make my arms and show you right now and do a full teardown. Was really, really neat.
Yeah, if you want to say a few words about that teardown at the end of your slides, I know a few of our members would be interested in anything you can say about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, you know what, the biggest thing that we talked about, because it was the training was primarily for technicians. It wasn't from an engineering perspective. It was very heavily safety focused. And also, you know, learning more about batteries in series versus batteries in parallel and the effect of current. And one of the technicians I thought said it perfectly. You know, if you have batteries in series versus batteries in parallel, think about it like when you're driving down the highway and you have congested traffic, you add another lane and that opens up more room for traffic. And in the case of these battery packs, it allows more, you know, current to flow, which I thought was a perfect analogy.
Good.
So you're all familiar, obviously, with, you know, electric vehicles. This may or may not look different or may look the same as some of the things that you've seen. But this is a basic drawing of what our drivetrain is going to look like. So the first, kind of on the steer axle or like runner, the cab of the truck, you're going to have the power electronics cradle. That's going to have your BMS controls, going to have your DC to DC converter. It's also going to have your onboard charger. So we have an onboard charger on the truck that can charge at 13.5 kilowatts. From there, we'll have the inverter that goes back to the motor, and I'll get into more detail on the motor on the next slide. And then we're direct drive right to the axle. We have models both in a 4x2 or 6x2 configuration, so it could be a single axle or it could be a tandem axle truck. And then you have your modular battery packs. In our case, we don't have room on our trucks to mount both packs on the frame like you see in this picture. But in the case of our extended cycle that we have that's a 220 kilowatt hour, we'll mount one on the frame and then we'll mount one on the cab. And I think you may be able to see it on the first slide here, right under the right above where it says leading, or kind of right where it says leading. That's a battery pack right there.
Oh, good. Okay.
All right. Some of the design considerations that we looked at to have some advantages over those, you know, other guys that are in the market, and how we can make it not only more efficient but driver friendly and make it easier for folks to adopt this vehicle. The first thing is the motor that we selected and having that partnership with Dana. So we went with the TM4 Sumo MD motor. The Sumo series, as I said, you know, as we're new in this electric space, this motor is new for this vehicle, but it's certainly not new to the market. There's been over 12,000 in this line commercially produced. A lot of them are in buses in China, and there's been millions and millions of kilometers put on this motor. One thing that was, I would say, a noticeable difference for me, the first time I drove this truck, was the amount of power it had compared to its diesel equivalent. So 315 horsepower and almost 2,300 foot-pounds of torque. To see something this big spin the tires with a trailer attached to it is pretty incredible. We actually had to turn the truck down, the first one we built, because HEB said, well, we got all the power we need, but now my tire cost just went up.
So I see.
So I would say
in the chat there, is it an AC induction motor? Do you happen to know?
it is.
It is. Okay.
So what made you choose AC induction motor over something like a switched reluctance DC motor?
You know, I would have to punt that one to Blake. I actually came on after he had already done all the design and engineering for the trucks, and you know, my role is to go out and help implement with fleets with coming from a fleet background. But I can certainly ask him and send something over to Dave to follow up with the group. That's a great question.
Yeah, that'd be good.
The other thing we thought about was charging protocol. There's a lot of folks that are, you know, they're building a vehicle, and you buy their vehicle and you buy their charger. which, you know, in the case of like Tesla, it's not a big deal because it's so readily available and out there. But in this heavy duty space, what we found was customers have multiple vehicle types. So they may have a truck like ours, and then they may have more of a work style truck, or maybe they're going to go get an e-Cascadia, you know, day cab truck. And how are they going to plan for charging and for infrastructure? So we went with CCS1 and J1772 standard. The charger that we're most familiar with is an ABB charger, but we're open protocol, so we're also working with Tritium and BTC Power. That way we can provide customers a lot of different options as far as what they would prefer. We, as far as battery technology, we're using lithium ion and we're using NMC technology. It's just got it's a little more power dense for what we need for our applications and duty cycles. A lot of our customers, in order for them to see, you know, a payback that makes economic sense, you know, they're typically having to run these trucks 16 hours a day or more to see that quick payback. I know batteries, a lot of folks we talk to in the Northeast or even in Canada, the cold is a big concern. So we actually have thermal pads to heat or keep those batteries in the kind of their happy temperature range. And on the flip side, air cooled also to keep them cool. So I said the larger or extended duty cycle truck we have, it's a 220 kilowatt hour pack. That truck's expected to run kind of in the ballpark of like 22 hours continually before needing a charge. From what we saw in our first deployment, it would run anywhere from 18 to 26 hours a day. And a lot of that had to depend on the weight of trailers that were being pulled. So it could be, one trailer could be Velveeta cheese, which is extremely heavy, or you know, pallets of water, you know, and then the next one could be dry goods. So it varies, you know, the kilowatt consumption varies drastically based on the load. Some of the features that we put into this truck, it's got a HVAC system, so it's heated and cooled. We surveyed the drivers at HEB and said, hey, what would you change about a cab interior if you could? So we actually put a backup camera in our vehicle, which in today's world, in the automotive world, it doesn't seem like that's a big deal. That's pretty standard. But with these vehicles, it is not a standard option. I'm not aware of any other terminal tractor or yard spotter OEMs that are doing that right now. And then we also have pre-shift conditioning. So there's a kind of, I think it's towards the end of the slide, there's a little touch screen in the truck, and the driver can put in, this is my start time. I'm going to start at 6:15 a.m. And the cab will precondition, so it'll be heated or cooled when he gets in. So it's already, you know, comfortable when he gets into the truck. We recently sent this vehicle out for FMVSS certifications. The two biggest ones being the air brake systems and the electronic stability control. So these trucks are all DOT compliant, so you can drive them on the road. In HEB's case, they have one depot, and you know, they'll do moves around in the yard where they'll pull a trailer out and put an empty in or put a load back in. But then there's other cases where they'll take a truck and run it from one depot, get on the, you know, public road and run it 10 miles down the road. So we needed to make sure we could have an offering that they can take legally on the road. It's not the most comfortable vehicle to drive for more than that. Based on, you know, you can kind of see it. It's not a over the road truck, but it is DOT compliant that it's legal to take. And for those that want to go with some other options, we do offer heated and cooled seats, power mirrors, Bluetooth radio. You know, those are all going to be more for operator comfort. And to make maintenance easier, we have an automatic greaser on it. So these vehicles, every 150 hours, the standard diesel truck has certain grease points that you have to have a technician to grease it. We can put an automatic greaser on it that, you know, just is run by the air compressor and will push grease out to all those points, and you can mitigate those services. Another neat feature is we worked with Mirai, And we have this as an option as well. So these really come in handy, especially on rainy days. So the spot mirrors or side mirrors are, you know, way out on the front side of the truck. So when you get those raindrops on those mirrors, it can be kind of difficult to see. And these give the drivers crystal clear vision of what's on the side of them. This on the left is the screen that I had mentioned. It will show, as I mentioned there, you can see the departure time. They can set the cab preconditioning. But the main takeaway from this is all of these vehicles have a full telematics system on it. And that is also different from the diesel equivalent of these vehicles. Most diesel yard tractors do not have telematics on it. If you are having an issue with the truck, typically you have to have a technician plug a laptop in it. A lot of these are running Cummins engines, so you have to, you know, run a Cummins Insight report to find out what's going on. In this case, having that telematics capability, we can do over-the-air updates and then also see, you know, what trouble codes or fault codes they're experiencing and be looking at them with the technician. This is our team. So if you would have any questions or want to get a hold of anybody, they are all, sorry about that. It must have been a squirrel outside. They're all in Texarkana, Texas, except for myself. And these are some of the customers that we've worked with in the past and still work with today. So with that, Dave, I'll open it up to some questions.
Okay, and we can kind of alternate between verbal questions and ones in the chat here. So after the AC induction motor, I see from Robert Sanchez, he's our vice president. I think I asked this in a previous email. How do you market this to companies that have to meet a quarterly budget? How much is the electric premium over their diesel counterpart?
Great question. And, you know, I sit in on a lot of different expos and things, and I think what we're seeing is with a lot of these early vehicles in Class 8, you can see 3, 4, sometimes 5 times the cost, you know, of a diesel equivalent. We're priced right around just a little more than twice the diesel equivalent. And so where we see the benefit being is in a couple of things. So the amount of fuel consumption a diesel yard tractor has can be anywhere between 1.5 gallons to a little more than 2 gallons of diesel fuel per hour. So if you look at, you know, 2 gallons per hour, typically in most operations that are running these fairly hard, let's call it 5,000 hours a year. So you're burning 10,000 gallons of diesel fuel a year. Put that at $3 a gallon, $30,000. So that's just in diesel fuel. The maintenance costs are going to also be significantly less. They're going to be about 35, 38% less than that of the diesel equivalent. And then the other big piece of this is in most applications, these vehicles, they'll idle 40 to 50% of the time. You know, while they're backing a trailer in, they're getting out to grab their wheel chalk to chalk the wheel, they're taking their air lines off, then they pull out and then they're waiting for their next move. So that diesel engine is artificially depreciating. You know, it's not moving, it's not going anywhere, but it's artificially depreciating, so it's still running. So we see the extended life and also the residual value of these vehicles being, you know, significantly more. So I guess that's a long answer to say that return on investment and total cost of ownership is everything. So, and as I mentioned earlier, in those 16-hour a day duty cycle or more, the payback on it's pretty quick. If you get into say, even at full price with no incentives, you get 20 hours or more usage out of these vehicles, the payback on it's a little more than 2 years.
All right. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of your customers look at the economics very closely. You know,
and we're always hunting. That's one of my primary roles is to look for incentives, what funding's out there. And, you know, so that's another big one is there was one that closed in August in Ohio, and that was going to cover think it was 75 or 80% of the cost of the vehicle. You get that and it's less than a diesel. So it's, it's at that point, it's kind of a slam dunk.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so moving on to the next question from Jeff Ebert. And by the way, Jeff will be a future speaker, so I look forward to hearing from Jeff. He asks, are you able to share the ratio of NMC? Is it 622 or 811? So that has to do with the chemical makeup of the batteries.
I will be honest with you, I do not know. And I will ask Blake that.
No, that's a good
I'm
thing.
learning everything I can about this stuff from an engineering design perspective, but man, there's a lot to learn.
Yep. All righty. We'll move on to the next question. So we'll get back to you, Jeff. For fleets, what's typical duty cycle? How much time could they spend charging, assuming there was a charger every place they stop?
That's a good question. So most of the fleets that we've talked to, that it makes sense for them economically, as I said, as far as the payback, they're anywhere from a 16-hour a day to 24-hour a day operation. So what we've done with those kind of facilities, and like HEB in particular, they're 24 hours. So what we did was we put a 150 kilowatt ABB charger in, and they can opportunity charge throughout the day. So as their drivers come off a shift and they're doing a post trip on the vehicle, and as that next driver's coming in and doing his pre-trip, they can have that truck plugged in and it can be charging. The other thing is with meal breaks and with lunch breaks, even if you get this truck down to, low state of charge, with that 150 kilowatt pack or that 150 kilowatt charger, we can still get that large battery pack, charged in less than 2 hours.
Okay.
So it's really for us, the biggest obstacle or thing to overcome is more operationally and driver behavior, to get them in the habit of every opportunity that they have, as they take a break or they get off their shift, to go plug the truck in. Because it's not just as easy as going to the diesel pump, like we all know.
Mm-hmm. All righty, that sounds good. So I think we'll go probably for another 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'll make a few comments, and then we'll have Johnny. I see Johnny joined in. Welcome. He's our next speaker. So the next question here, are you working to make the whole process green, especially from green sourced energy at your plants, distribution centers, etc.? The old question arises that one is shifting the pollution from the tailpipe to the smokestack. Less of an issue now than 10 years ago, but it's still something that often comes up as our argument. All of our members know, if they, just like yesterday, I was in a grocery store parking lot, and a woman asked me, what kind of car is that you're driving? And so, where's the battery at? So I'm filling her in. And
we hear that all the time. They say, well, you're just plugging this truck in, and it's using, dirty emissions, it's using coal power, and it's not any better than driving a diesel or a gasoline. And I always just show people, there's a great chart that shows the United States broken into utility industries, and it shows that the overall MPG for the nations, if you equated it to miles per gallon, is 88 miles per gallon. And I don't know anybody in their diesel, gas, or hybrid that's getting 88 miles per gallon. So I would say we're going in the right direction. A lot of our nation is still powered by coal and natural gas, but I think as you said, I think we're trending in the right direction. The thing that I would say currently we're not doing a whole heck of a lot as far as green initiatives at our facility, but the biggest thing that we have our eyes on is once these battery packs get to its end of, call it its first life, we're going to bring those packs back and use that as storage at our facility. We have, as you saw on the map, we got 24 locations there, a lot of rooftops that we can utilize those packs when we take them back.
that is so good to hear. Yeah. Okay. So moving on to the next, is the charger DC fast charge?
Yes, we have both options. we have up to 150 kilowatts that we can charge right now. So for those really aggressive, extensive duty cycle applications, that's probably going to be the best bet. But we recently put in a 25 kilowatt charger at another location. All the demonstration vehicles, for the most part, as we deploy them to different fleets, just to make it easier on them. They're not going to put in the infrastructure for DC. So we'll provide them just a simple level 2 cord that they can plug into, like a welding outlet and run the truck for, the day, but then they'll kind of have to let it sit for the rest of the day. So that's a good way for them to try before you buy, not have to invest in the infrastructure, where they can see kilowatt consumption and state of charge. They unfortunately won't get to see it, in real application, but it's a really cost-effective way for that. So we're doing a little bit of both would be the best answer, but for those really aggressive applications, DC seems to be the way to go.
Okay, that's good. Yes, Ken, you got a question?
Yes, I'm going back to Dana and the motor. Where did they make that motor?
When did they make it?
No, where? What country?
Where? I would have to, I'm not sure if they're doing some in Michigan now or not, but I know that previously, I believe it was in Canada. It was a TM4.
All right.
I'll jot that down too and send it to you, Dave, for the group.
All righty, sounds good. So next question from John. I assume the diesel yard trucks have multi-gear transmissions and the electric may have a single gear reduction. What is the overall reduction ratio?
Another great question. You guys are techie. I should have had Blake on. I'd have to find that out.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay, so from Emma, and she's a vice president of our Houston Johnson Space Center Electric Vehicle Club. How important were you in the environment? Were the environmental benefits of your vehicle to HEB and your other clients? And I don't understand this part. To finish my question, in the decision to go with your vehicle. Okay.
So HEB is, I would say that was probably one of their first considerations or motivators. It really, the sustainability and green aspect varies for us as we talk to fleets and to customers. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes they'll say that sustainability and green is our main motivator. But if it doesn't make economic sense, they're not going to go for it. So we see a swing in both ways. We see where customers' total cost of ownership is king and it's everything. But it really varies based on corporate sustainability goals or state and regulatory issues on what fleets want. I was just talking to a fleet the other day that they know that it's going to cost more, but due to the aggressive sustainability goals they have, they know that that's going to be a benefit for them. So it's definitely a mixed bag of total cost of ownership versus sustainability, and it's not always clear which is more important sometimes based on the first conversation.
Okay, so you've seen some of both. All righty, very good. Okay, any other questions? Yeah, Ken.
Charles, you've indicated that the return on investment or payback would be around 2 years. How long do those vehicles actually last? Isn't it more like a 10-year vehicle?
You're right.
So
Yeah, and
altogether,
yeah, it's going to
what
be
would
more of a
happen?
10-year vehicle.
And that means that you'd have roughly 8 years of much lower costs, and over a 10-year period, wouldn't you be talking about way better return for expense line? I mean, the money would have to drive.
You would see a significant, very significant savings once you get past that 2-year mark. And what you'll see, the fuel savings is going to be fairly flat, based on if your annual hours stays about the same for those 10 years or 8 years, your fuel savings are going to be about the same as long as your fuel price doesn't, price is only really going to be the major driver there. But what you're going to see with a standard diesel truck is you're going to see, as far as the maintenance cost, you'll see it kind of go slowly up. And then at about the 15,000 hour mark, you're going to see a high jump in that curve. About 15,000 hours is when you really start to have a lot more issues in maintenance costs.
And the electric truck would not have that kind of bump.
No, I mean, the motor's going to last for the full life of the truck. As long as they take care of the batteries and charges, they should. You should easily get 7, 8 years out of the battery pack. A lot of that, as you all know, is going to depend on what kind of climate you're in, how you charge and how you take care of the batteries. But it should definitely get a significant amount of savings, in that 7, 8 year, even like you said, up that 10-year time frame. That'd be huge.
Okay. Any other verbal questions for Charles? We'll wrap it up.
I was wondering whether an organization like HEB, where the trucks are spending time unloading product at the stores, whether or not they can get opportunity charging while they're also during the day while they're unloading.
At per se, like at their like their retail stores.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if that's something. I'm sure they're thinking about that because I know they're thinking about some more delivery style trucks. Our trucks really, the ones we have currently, the one I showed you tonight, really would not work for a delivery application. But I know they have some things on their roadmap as far as delivery style trucks. I would assume they're thinking about that.
Okay, very good. And from Bill, I see the question, have you contacted the Port of Houston? They purchase 100% green solar energy.
We did. I talked to the Port of Houston right before COVID, and they had gotten some funding, and we kind of came in late on the conversation. They had gotten some money. I can't recall if it was a DARA grant or if it was Volkswagen money. And they had already decided to go with, I believe it was a BYD truck. So we kind of came in late, but we've kept in touch with them. And, as other funding opportunities come out, we'll be, communicating with them on how we can get our truck down there for them to try out.
Okay. And one last question, we'll wrap it up here. So from Jason, and Jason is great at helping everybody out. Mention to you, Charles, and to our friends from Kandi, a betterrouteplanner.com is a great tool to use for electric vehicles. So we might talk more about that later. So Jason is asking, what kind of training / organizational hurdles do the fleet operators have swapping their drivers to the electrics? Or do they typically really like them and that makes the transition pretty easy?
So HEB guys, after initially, getting the walk around, the training with the vehicle, they were fighting over it on who got to drive it because they didn't smell like gas or, like exhaust at the end of the day. They didn't have all the vibrations that if you've never sat in a diesel yard tractor, it really vibrates and it's really, really loud because the motor is right under the cab. So they all said they felt a lot, they had a lot more energy at the end of their shift. The other thing that we did was we mounted to raise and lower the fifth wheel on the truck. On most of the diesel equivalents, you have to reach to your right and it's actually on the dash on the right. And then you're twisting around like this, turning around, looking at the trailer behind you. So there's a lot of twisting and turning. We mounted the boom to lift the boom. It's a little joystick. I can actually, it was in my one slide. There's a little joystick right on the left, and then they have the backup camera. So really, they don't have a lot of that twisting, turning. The biggest thing they had to get used to was how quiet it is, and then the regenerative braking. Because once you let off the throttle or the accelerator, there's really, unless you want to come to a dead stop quickly, or you have to come to a dead stop. You know, you can kind of just roll and you barely have to touch the brakes. So I think that was probably one of the biggest adjustments that they had to make. The other one being that, you know, the pre-trip and post-trips look a lot different. They're obviously not getting in and touching any high voltage components. We don't want that. But the pre and post-trip difference was something that we had to train them on. And then obviously they had to get a little used to the regenerative braking.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Charles. We really appreciate your spending time with us. Very enlightening.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. Thank you for having me. And once again, I apologize. I'm learning as much as I can on the technical side. So if we talk again next year, you can bet I'll know a lot more, but I'll get those questions answered from Blake and get over to the group.
Oh, this has been a great exchange both ways, I think. So, all right. Thanks a lot.
Excellent.
Okay,
Thank you.
And before we get to our next speaker, just like to informally ask folks yay or nay. Then for December, how many folks would be interested in getting together physically in a restaurant, probably Claiborne's? So we're talking probably like the first Thursday in December for a social. Can I see I see from Bill a thumbs up. Any other folks have an opinion, yay or nay, if they make it in person? Okay, we'll check with folks again. First of all, you can put a comment in the chat. Second is you can, I see from Seth the thumbs down. Okay, you've got your camera on. All right. So people can put comments in the chat. That'll get saved. And of course, you can also speak up during the rest of the meeting. And then we'll also talk in November to see what folks have to say. So I see a few more votes there. Okay. Yep, okay. And Robert is specifying in person with masks and social distancing, of course, would be the way to do it in person if we do that. All right, so we've got a few folks here from Kandi America. And so we'd like to have, there's Johnny's video, very good. Johnny, good to see you. And yeah, you're kind of hiding part of the car there, but we know we're going to see more of the car in your slides and in your video too. But yeah, and of course, very good to have Christine here with us. I've been exchanging emails with Christine to get things set up, and another member of your company staff as well here. So Johnny, I'll let you do the talking. Take it away. And you should be able to share your slides.
Yeah, well, thank you, Dave. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very, nice to meet you guys, and thank you for having me, tonight. It's a privilege, I can be invited, to your group. And I was, listening to, Charles, your presentation is very, very good. But I have to say, my background is really not, that technical. My name is Johnny Tai. I'm the CEO for Kandi America. And so Kandi is electric car manufacturers from China. And I have a more detail, in my presentation, but I want to say, personally, I was born in Taiwan, and in year 2000, before Christmas time, I came to, Dallas, Texas, to pursue my master's degree. So I finished my college, went to military for 2 years. That's a mandatory, so no choice. I went there for 2 years, and then after that, I came to, Dallas. And my background is, IT, so I got my first job, in IT, and I realized, I'm not an IT person. I don't like to talk to computer. Computer is it's hard to negotiate with computer. So I told my boss, hey, can you let me try, sales job or customer service, and I enjoy that. And so that's how I kind of switched my role, into more sales. So I got my first job, in power sports, industry. We sell, ATVs, side-by-side off-road vehicles. And since then, I've been in the industry. And then fast forward, I started my own business in ATV business. And then in 2018, Kandi Technologies, acquire my company. It's me and then my partner, we set up our company for off-road business. And so Kandi acquired our business, and that's how, I'm here today to present Kandi electric cars, to you guys. So Dave, if you would allow me to share my screen, I'd like to, show you my presentation.
Yes, okay. I have it set for multiple. You should be able to.
All right, thank you. Do that. Here we go. Okay, so let me know if you can see my.
I can see it perfectly. Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, Kandi America, as you can see, these vehicles, it's K23. So when we, first of all, in August not last month, now it's already 2 months ago, okay. So in August, this year, we have a virtual event launch, and then we kind of release our K23 and the K27, 2 models of our electric cars. And we also start a movement we call Auto Evolution for All. So the reason we start that is because, I understand, and I look at your group, pictures, a lot of people, they own, a Tesla. Actually, my wife, she owns a Tesla as well. So we both understand the benefit of, driving the electric cars. But when people talk about electric car, they say, yeah, that's nice. We can do good for the, environment and then go green. That's very, very good. But, most people, when they think about, pricing, then they say, you know what? Yeah, I don't know, maybe later on. But most people cannot afford that, Tesla price. So we think, hey, the market today doesn't really have something it's very affordable. And also, it's not that accessible. So for example, it took my wife, several months to get her, Tesla. Most people, they want to go in and drive, right? Go to the dealership and then take the car and then drive home. So, so that's why, we started this Auto Evolution, so we want to make sure we are the most affordable electric car in this country. So that's kind of our, campaign theme. So I want to introduce who is Kandi. So Kandi, it's a public, trade company listed on NASDAQ since 2007. Our stock, ticker is KNDI. KN like a Nancy, KNDI. So that's our, stock, ticker. So in 2007, Kandi was listed, at NASDAQ. And in 2008, Kandi introduced its first electric car called Kandi Coco. Kandi Coco has a good success. However, at that time, Kandi was still a small company. So the background for Kandi actually go back, when they started, they have been making, ATVs and go-karts. So these are off-road, vehicles. And that's how kind of linked to my company, is selling ATVs, go-karts. But Kandi got into these electric cars very, very early. And so when we had that, success for Kandi Coco in 2008, we understand, we were still a small company. And that's why, at that time, the electric car is really, really booming, in China. And that's why, Kandi shift is focused back to Chinese market. However, they continue to develop, more models, in different style. So in 2018, when they acquired, my company, my business, we start to work, on how to bring in these Kandi electric cars to the United States. And so it's been 2 years, right? I know we got to go through a lot of, certifications, a lot of, licensing, that type of stuff. And that's why, in August, we have that, virtual launch. And then it's been very, very successful. We got a lot of interest, from the country. And then right now, actually, we start to take pre-orders online. So you can go to our website, Kandi, Kandi America.com. So KandiAmerica.com, you can not just only see our products, you can also, just put in the $100 refundable, fully refundable $100, deposit, and you can reserve, one of our Kandi, electric cars, So yes, next slide, we show America's most affordable EV. And so with our, special promotional pricing starting $99.99, that is with the $7,500, federal tax credit. So both of our models, K23, K27, they're both qualify eligible for federal tax credit, $7,500. So before I go to our next slide, I have a couple videos I'd like to share with you guys. So let me play the video right now.
Okay.
That's worse. Okay, okay.
And Johnny, this is Christine. You might have to unshare and then reshare so you can select the new screen.
I understand. Yeah, sorry about that. Let me do that. Yeah, I think that has. Sorry, guys. There we go.
The Kandi K27, the perfect city driver. Designed with on-the-go customers in mind, the K27 is our smaller model, fit for short-haul lifestyles. The K27 has all the benefits a modern driver needs, with an EPA estimated 59 miles of range, a top speed of 63 miles per hour, and a 7-hour charge time. Safety is Kandi's top priority, and we will continue to keep our vehicles updated with all required safety features. As such, the K27 is NHTSA certified and cleared by the EPA. With the K27, consumers can expect to save $4,500 in fuel costs over 5 years while minimizing their carbon footprint. The Kandi K23, America's entry-level EV for families. The K23 is our SUV-style vehicle and is an excellent fit for those looking for longer drives and bigger hauls. The K23 features a roomy interior and ample trunk space. The K23 also has a high-tech look and feel that appeals to a younger audience. This model can travel 111 miles, has a top speed of 70 miles per hour, and has a powerful 41.4 thousand watt-hour ternary lithium battery. The K23 is also NHTSA certified and cleared by the EPA. We will continue to keep our vehicles updated with all required safety features. Rated the best in fuel economy, greenhouse gas, and smog ratings, the K23 is both environmentally friendly and cost-effective, with the average consumer saving $3,750 over 5 years.
Awesome.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you. So this slide, I want to share with you guys, what is our kind of timeline, So as I share with you guys, we actually August, we have our, a virtual launch. So we
Right now, we
introduce,
still have the black video screen.
Oh,
You need to switch if you've gone to a static slide again.
okay. All right.
Now we got it. We're good. Yep.
Yep. So August, we started our virtual launch event, and we introduced Kandi to to everyone. And then September, we actually start to build out our dealer network. So I want to mention that so our business model will be we will sell these Kandi electric cars through Kandi dealerships. So this is a little bit different than like a Tesla or other newer I think a lot of new companies, they are coming up. They want to kind of adopt that Tesla model, sell directly to consumers, and nothing wrong with that. But with our background, we want to work with dealers, because I think that's a lot of benefits. When you have a local dealership there, not only you can also do the test drive with the dealership, and when you want to do the financing, your dealership will be able to help you to do the finance. And then the third, if you have your car, your old cars you want to trade in, you can do it at the dealership. So that's a lot of benefits there. So October, right now we're in October. So we'll continue our dealer relations, and our goal actually, is to start to focus on setting up dealers, from Texas. So we've been working with very hard, try to get us, in front of these Texas dealers. And so moving forward, November and December, our goal is to finalize our pre-orders before the vehicles, deliver to dealerships. And then the final goal, because right now we're getting a lot of pre-orders, and every day, people are asking, when can I get my cars? When do I expect, my delivery? So we are, shooting for Christmas time. Before Christmas time, we can start to fulfill these orders. Okay, so let me go to the next one. So next one, I want to share with you guys, our kind of our, how do we create that, buying experience? Products is very important. If you don't have a good product, you won't have, business. Just like look at, Chas, their business is very good. They get a good product, and however, buying experience is what people really care about today, right? So our goal is to create that auto evolution through a nationwide dealer network. And then we kind of like, rebuild the buyers, experience, and then by using our, micro hub, showroom. So I want to show you this, introducing our micro hub, model. So this is a render, for our micro hub for Kandi dealership. As you can see, just like we walk into Tesla showroom, it's very clean, simple, easy. It's not like that traditional car dealership. They got a huge, huge space. They got a huge inventory, and so we kind of adopt, Tesla's, concept. You want to be in a very good traffic, area, and you don't really need to have a big, enormous, space. Plus, you don't need to have a huge, inventory. So with this open space, people can walk around, look at the car, and then everything is kind of like, we use a glass to make this really transparent, so you can see through a lot of area. And I like, the back, the background here, we show, sweet. So that's kind of like, a reflection to our brand name, Kandi. So kind of the candy, and especially, Halloween is coming up, so that candy, hopefully we can get more, brand awareness. I know it's a different candy, but that's the pronunciation is the same. So this is the office area. So people can, again, they can see through, and then I like the gold green, wall. So when people see that, they are very, it's kind of like wide open, and also they feel like it's very, eco-friendly. So I think that this design will fit to our, kind of target market very well. So this is the office area. So look at, inside of the office from outside. And the reason we create this, space is we understand, when we did the research, we found a lot of people today, they don't really want to go to car dealership unless it's necessary, right? And the reason why they don't like that is because, the car dealership today has become a threat for a lot of, buyers. That's why you see, a lot of people, they start to buy cars online, like Tesla is one, and then Carvana and cars.com. A lot of people, they just try to, find the cars, even buy the cars, from the internet, because they don't like to go to dealership and then kind of being trapped, inside the dealership. So that's why with this design, we want to make sure people feel comfortable, and then they can rebuild that confidence, between the dealership and then the customers. So this is the area, this is the, kind of like the view you can see. It's really wide open, and the requirement for this dealership, space, actually, it's about like a 2,000, square foot, right? And so you can see there's a one room for office, so you can use that to sign the paperwork and to negotiate, So actually, that's not much, negotiation needed. I'll explain that later on, because we actually implement, we call no haggle pricing policy. So what people see, kind of like a Tesla, when people see online on our website, the price they see for the vehicle, that is the price you're going to pay, at the dealership. And plus, accessories, right? And we make this very transparent, so people know that's the price, they need to pay, they will be charged at the dealership. And same thing for dealership, they don't have to spend time try to explain or negotiate the price with the customers. So we make the whole transactions really, really simple. And that's what I like about this, business model. We adopt, the good thing from the easy, transparent, part from Tesla. And we also, implement the traditional dealership, they can let you do the test drive, and you can also do the financing, and you can trade in your cars, at the dealership. So the second video I want to share with you is it's not a typo. So let me share this with you. And this one is basically talking about how affordable our car is. And this one is mainly for K27, because after federal tax credit, it's only $99.99. So let me share that. Give me 1 second. Here we go.
That can't be.
Must be a typo. Maybe a smudge?
This car's electric. It's gotta cost more than that. I'm gonna look it up.
It's not a typo. The K27 really is that affordable.
Introducing the all-electric Kandi K27. That's not a typo. Kandi, auto evolution for all.
All right. Auto evolution for all. Let me go back to my presentation.
Yeah, when I first saw that title of the second video, it's like, oh, they must be talking about price. Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Okay, you see my slides?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So our commitment to price transparency and the Kandi's no haggle price, that's what I just explained to you guys now. So in the spirit of true price transparency, Kandi will be forthcoming with the mandate sales price by publishing the affordable price across its digital footprint. This, coupled with a public no haggle price policy, shows Kandi's commitment to our customers. So I think people really like, and I see a lot of our members in this association owns a Tesla. And good thing about Tesla's price is, again, it's no haggle price. You pretty much it's the same price nationwide, and that's why we want to adopt that as well. No haggle price, and because we understand. We have two major groups, we think that's our target, groups. One is urban millennial, another one is Gen Xers. And either or, these groups, even most people today, they don't like to negotiate. And I purchased many cars, not just only myself, I also purchased many company cars. And I can tell you, that negotiation process is really, really, time consuming, and it's very, very tedious. But if you don't negotiate, you almost feel like you've been overcharged. So I think this no haggle price will save consumers a lot of time, and also will reduce the overhead for a car dealership. So let's talk about support. We partner with a company called Range. So Range is a mobile tech service company. They have a coverage nationwide in most metro areas. So what they do is actually, if you are not able to go to the car dealership, and we can actually dispatch, or you can request Range to come to your office or to go to your home, and they will be able to do the service or perform the repair. Unless it's something really, really major, a big repair, big service, we will have to, still ask, the vehicle owner go back to dealership or take to, the closest, service center. Otherwise, we provide these mobile tech, service, and you don't see this a lot, for like most cars. Only the luxury cars, they provide this type of service. So basically, you can go to KandiAmerica.com. That's our website, and then you can reserve, your Kandi by just putting down $100. It's fully refundable. It's a fully refundable, $100, to get your Kandi electric cars. So this is my presentation, and I'll open, for any questions.
All right. Thanks a lot, Johnny. And again, we can have either live questions or through the chat. And I see one already in the chat. Robert asked, what is your target market? Everyone talks about the Tesla killer, but it never emerges Tesla's Tesla. It seems as if everyone else is competing for second place. So what is your target market?
Well, so Robert, to answer your question, first of all, I want to say we are not trying to compete with any existing products or any OEM right now. So you can see we are trying to create a different category. By DOT, their data, the average American drives 29 miles per day. Okay, so yes, our vehicles, the driving range is not like Tesla. But that's why, we want to create a different, category so people can drive around when they need to go to grocery shopping, or they need to just, use this, this vehicle for their like roundabouts, so that's our kind of our market. So to answer your questions, yes, we try to give, people another option. So if you want to drive long distance, you still can drive your, gas car, right? But if you just want to have a third car, for your house, to drive around, Kandi will be a good option for you.
All right. The next question, how many reservations have you gotten in the US?
Well, right now, our reservation is going up, every day. So I think that this number, we like to, kind of reserve, that number, and then we will make an announcement, when we think that's a good time, to make announcement. But I would say, the special promotion is taken up, quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. What is your company trying to do to expand charging infrastructure, especially in multi-unit housing?
Well, I think that's a very, very good question, So our car, they come with, as long as you have a level 2, charging station, you can use level 1, but level 1 is going to take it very long. So we encourage people to use the level 2. And so I think charging station, and I started to see a lot of, gas station, they offer, charging station there. For example, we have one, in Garland, just by our, office. They offer free charging for electric cars. But I think their strategy is, they still want people to go in there, go to, do the shopping. I think that's how gas, station make money. They probably don't make a good money, from selling gas. Yeah. So I think, by making these electric cars more affordable, more accessible, that's how we help, these charging infrastructures, because there's a company that do that for business. But more people drive, electric cars, then that means, there's more demand for these charging stations. And that's going to make the charging stations, the cost is lower.
Okay. Yeah, so you mentioned the level 1, level 2, and I see that leads to the next question here. And some folks already know my wife and I both have electric vehicles, and I only have level 2 on one side of the garage. I just use level 1 on the other side. I can always park the cars differently or run the cord across or something. So here the question is, how is the car charged, and how long does it take to charge the car with level 1 charger? And of course, some people think of it as when a car is absolutely empty to charge up. Most of us who have electric vehicles know that you rarely drive it until it's very low. As you said, 29 miles is the average day. So I'll kind of add to this question, to recoup that average 29 miles, how long would it take with the level 1 charger as well as the full charge?
Well, if the car is out of power, it's empty, so it takes about 7 hours. 7 to 8 hours, use level 2. Okay. But try to get the 29 miles, by level 1. Well, I have to be honest, I don't know. I never, tried that. But my guess is probably, a couple hours, 2 to 3 hours, you can get that 29 miles. I mentioned that, my wife has a Tesla, and they also come with, you can use the 110, volt to charge the car. And I know that takes very long, even with Tesla.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
In general, I always use the difference between level 1 and level 2 is that you double the voltage, and typically you double the current, although it can vary slightly depending on what you're using. So that can be about 4 times longer, roughly. All right, very good. And I see Seth has put some data in the chat. Level 1 is typically 4 miles per hour. So yeah, if you use that as a rough guide, then yeah, we're talking about multiplying or first dividing the 29 by 4, say divide the 30 by 4, So 7.5
7.5 hours,
hours
yeah.
at level 1 to recoup its
Yeah.
average day's
Yeah.
amount of charge. But still, that's well over the time period that I sleep every night. I know
Yep.
that. Yeah, as I said, on one side of our garage, we just plug the car in on that side to level 1, and that it seems to always cover it. And we have another question. Level 2 chloride volt is usually 13 to 15 miles an hour. Okay, statement. Very good for level 2. All right.
Yeah, I can tell these people in, I mean, your member, in this group are very, very, techie. Very,
Yeah.
very techie, yeah.
Yes.
So that's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Ken,
Yes,
you
sir.
got a
Yeah.
question?
The cars are made in China. Is there any plans to build factories in this country?
Yes, sir. So Ken, actually, we already make an announcement, from our parent company. We are actually looking for the manufacturing, facility in North America. And in fact, I already received, some phone calls, from different states. Monday, believe it or not, I have a phone call with the state of Florida. They are very interested, providing that incentive, to us. But I think that's definitely, and I see it doesn't matter it's a Toyota, Honda, or Hyundai, Kia. They all do the same thing. First, they bring their cars, from overseas, and then, they start to have this manufacturing facility in the U.S. because, especially right now, we have a tariff, right? We have tariff, so we want to save tariff. We want to save, transportation, and our commitment. Like I say, I mean, Kandi is a public company on NASDAQ since 2007. So our commitment to the US, it's no doubt. So we want to build the cars here, and we also want to, create more jobs here. That's our mission.
Very good.
Yeah. Yen, you have a question?
Yes, going back to the charging, I didn't quite understand, okay, so with a slow charge, it's 4 miles per hour to charge?
Yeah, that's a typical number.
That's a typical number.
And then so with an L2, it would take 7 hours to
No.
charge?
That was for the full charge
Depends on
of
how
the
fast
entire
your car
battery if it was run down. So I was trying to give a more realistic situation because, as Johnny said, the typical person drives something like 29 miles a day. So it's really very rare that a car is basically got an empty battery and you're starting from that point. So for usage, I mean, that's a good technical data point, and that would be 7 hours from zero charge on a level 2. But a more useful data point I find is what does it take to recharge on a daily basis if you drove the average number of miles that day.
Mhm.
And as you pointed out in your question, if you're using a level 1 charger, which pretty much anyone living in a modern house is going to have a regular 120
Well,
outlet.
that's just a regular wall outlet.
Right. And
a
so
level 1 a level 1 will typically run at 8 amps.
Mhm.
Level 2 can run anywhere from 30 to 50 amps, depending on the capacity of the car.
Mhm.
I have a level 2 charger for my Bolt, and my Bolt will accept power at 32 amps. My charger will put it out at more than that. Will support a car that'll do 40 amps. But 32 amps versus 8 amps means that the level 2 charger is going to charge me up at about a quarter of the time of a level 1 charger. So the question for our speaker is, does he know what rate the Kandi will take power at on a level 2 charger?
That I don't have a exact answer for you, but I can I can collect the information tomorrow, and then I can send it to Dave.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be good because we've seen the cars that have come on the market have all different capabilities in terms of the number of amps at level 2. And as Seth said, typically or often someone can have equipment at their home that could put out more amps. But as we know, through the pilot channel, there's a handshake between the vehicle and the equipment, and they will agree what maximum amperage the car can take and what the unit can put out. So even if your home unit can put out more amps, if the car can't take them, it'll stay safe, but it will just take more time because it's charging at a lower amperage.
My Leaf will only take.
Good question.
Amps.
Someone else have a comment? I heard a faint voice. So Ken, go ahead.
Donnie, you didn't indicate the cost of a K23. What would it be?
So the K23, the regular price, it's $27,499. After federal tax credit, $7,500. Your cost, could be $19,999.
Okay, so the longer range one, yeah, I expected it would have a higher price, so that's good because your video emphasized the base lower mileage model, lower range model. So yeah, I think a lot of people might be more interested in the one with a bit higher range. Okay, so I see some more info popping up in the chat here. Robert states level 2 for my voltage, usually 13 to 15 miles an hour. That's a good data point. The question, any plans for the European markets? Europe has usually gone with smaller vehicles to fit their roads, some going back to the Middle Ages, with the high cost of fuel, much of it taxes, and lack of large oil reserves. So plans for Europe?
We do. Actually, we, since our launch in August, we receive a lot of, email from a lot of countries, and Europe is one of them. And we also receive a lot of requests from Canada. So I think our next market, we should extend to Canada because that's closer to us. Yep. I see Jason already, got the answer. So yeah. So I think it's
good, Jason. Yeah, the 16.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason. Yeah. I don't know. Jason works for our company.
As I've mentioned, Jason has done a lot of volunteer work for the abetterrouteplanner.com website, and so yeah, he's always on top of things with data, so that's good. All right.
Yeah,
so
love this group.
Yeah, Emma has a question. You mentioned Kandi started with making ATVs, gasoline ? Is Kandi planning to also manufacture electric motorcycles and/or scooters, given the company's origins?
Wow, I think you guys really can read our mind, So actually, we are going to introduce and this group will be the first one ever, even Kristen, Beth, from our group, they don't know this, but I'm going to share this, insight with you guys. So we are going to introduce our, first electric ATV very, very soon. So, and then follow up by, more electric power sports, because we also see that's a trend, and especially right now it's a hunting season, right? Hunting season is here. So a lot of people, hunters, they want to be very, very quiet. And that's why, we see that's a market, and because a lot of people, they already, accept, electric cars. And of course, they want to make sure, electric ATVs or UTVs are also, affordable. And again, that's our mission as well.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Seth has made the statement that that's about what he expected, and Jason made the statement that he's good at Googling. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Steve Hanrahan has the question: how are the batteries conditioned? Liquid coolant or air?
Yeah, air. Air cool.
Air cooled. Okay.
Yep.
All righty. And then Emma's asking, did you say that you already had a dealership in the Houston area or somewhere in Texas?
We don't have a dealership, like a legally signed yet, but we have a lot of, on our pipeline, and actually we are processing their applications. They got to pass, the financial, test. So that's what we are doing right now. And we just launched our, vehicles in August. So that's why we mentioned that, last month we started to take, try to build our dealer network. And so I think very soon, you guys will see, and we want to start, with Texas. So very soon you're going to see, we have a Texas dealers.
Okay, and Ken, did you have another question?
Yeah. What states are you aiming at besides Texas?
Well, California will be the next one, because most of our pre-orders, they are from Texas and California. So California, and we know, governor from California just announced that 2035, all the gas car, we'll see, but that's good for us, we welcome that, but we will see, yeah. But California is really a big market for electric cars. And we see Texas is growing really, really fast as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, and Charles, you have a question?
Yeah, as the dealership locations you're looking at, are they currently a traditional, dealership, and then you'll have these micro hubs in addition to the dealerships? Or will they be completely standalone locations?
Well, first of all, we want to have a good representation, right? And I don't think any current, OEMs will allow their dealers to have a separate brand, in the same location. That's my understanding. So we definitely, would prefer it's a separate, from the existing dealership, but they don't really need to have a big space. Just like a Tesla, model, their showroom is not very big, right? But they are able to do a lot of things, from that showroom. And so with our micro hub, concept, dealership, their investment is very, very, it's way less than, the traditional car dealership.
All righty.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Yeah.
Robert,
good question.
Here, yeah. Low cost, no frills vehicles like this would be perfect for third world nations, some in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. There's actually an electric bus manufacturer in Uganda. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen all kinds of electric vehicles spreading around the world. So.
Hey,
right.
Dave, let me ask you guys a question. I know this group, most people, you should all have, electric cars. So do you guys have a free electricity, like in the evening at home?
Most people don't. So this part of Texas where we're at has what are called retail electric providers. So if you're familiar, there's parts of Texas where you can choose your electricity provider and plan, and there's others where you just use the municipal supplier of electricity to your home. And among those retail electric providers, there are many different plans out there, hundreds of them. And in fact, one of our members has the texaspowerguide.com to help people choose their source of electricity. And there are free night and weekend plans. However, those plans charge a whole lot during the daytime. So I always give people the advice, unless you can control very strictly your daytime electricity, don't choose a plan just because it sounds attractive with free nighttime electricity because you're thinking, oh, I got to charge my car.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. But if you have a pool pump that runs all day long because you've got to keep the pool water clean, you're going to pay through the nose more during the day than what you're going to share at night, save at night. So there are some people that have those plans. I actually visited during the solar tour, home tour a few years ago, a couple, their kids were all gone. One of their cars was a Leaf, and they had solar panels on their roof, so they didn't need to buy much daytime electricity. And then they would charge their car. They would even run their dishwasher at night because it had a timer. And so they had very good control of when they drew electricity from the grid. And so for them, I believe it was advantageous. For most people, unless you can control it, it's not advantageous to have free electricity at night. As you mentioned with employers offering electricity to employees for free. Now that's something where, of course, the car owner would truly be getting free electricity. So if their employer is willing to do that, then the employer, of course, is paying a little bit for electricity, probably not increasing their electricity bill enough that they would even notice it. But for an employee, that would mean free fuel.
Awesome. Yeah, because like my home, we in Dallas, we have this free, electricity from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. So you're right. We do a lot of things, while we are sleeping. We charge our, electric car, in the evening, and we do the laundry, washing, dishwashing, Yeah, right. we just do that after 9 o'clock, So that's, yeah, I know the rate is higher, but when you think about when you charge your electric car, you do your laundry, these two, and I don't have a pool, but these two are the major things really consume a lot of electricity.
Yeah, here in Houston, of course, with the high humidity, we run the air conditioning during the day a lot, and so. Yeah, you just can't not run your air conditioning in Houston. I think Dallas is a bit more mild. So between you and your wife, you have one electric vehicle in your household?
Yeah, well, so both me and my wife actually, well, before COVID-19, I still go to the office, but she kind of like, they kind of let her, work from home, right? But we both have to drive, very far. Like a commute time is 1 hour each way. So so that's why when we had this program, I started thinking, how can we really, take advantage for this program? And electric cars totally make sense, And one thing I really like to encourage more people to take an electric car is, it's just, for example, because I have to drive a truck, I got other stuff, so I need to drive, a truck. And electric car, you don't really need to go to gas station, gas pump anymore, right? And it saves time. You can just go home, right away. And also, you don't really need to do the oil change anymore. Like my oil change, it's up again, and with this COVID situation, I am just very hesitant, maybe I'm just lazy, I'm just hesitant to go back to car dealership, to do my oil change. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone has a lot of different circumstances. In fact, I met one time at a meeting outside of Texas with electric vehicle owners, and he lives in Kentucky, and he had an over an hour commute. It happened to be after he and his wife, they just got married, bought a house, and then he got a job. It happened to be far away from the house that they just bought. And so he purposely bought a Tesla Model 3 because of his commute. So he wanted to drive on electricity for multiple reasons, but one obvious one was because he needed to spend so much time in the car.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, so more questions from folks, either live or in chat. I think this has been really good. Good to see what's out there on the market. So Kevin, yes.
Thanks, Johnny, for your presentation. We really appreciate you talking to us.
You're very welcome.
I know that some folks asked you about Europe, but I travel a lot to Central America, Mexico, Central America, and South America, and the Caribbean. And the island nations are an excellent marketplace for small cars that don't have to travel very far, and the fuel is expensive on the islands, but there's more and more people putting in solar generation on their homes. And so has Kandi, do you know, you're the president of North America, but has Kandi globally looked at the Caribbean, Mexico, Central America, and South America?
Well, thank you, Kevin, for your question. We do have a lot of inquiries from different regions in the world, and you're right. Our cars is very ideal for this smaller region. And I told you guys I was born in Taiwan, and I would say this car is very good for the market like Taiwan as well. So, but we understand we want to come to the US first because everybody wants to, prove, their quality, their design is accepted, by the biggest market in the world, right? So, yes, I handle the North America, business, and I know our team, they continue to collect that, inquiries from other countries. And I think, in the near future, we'll definitely, extend our distribution to these regions as well.
All right. Okay, and I see
Thank
Seth
you.
has commented about, yeah, people get tired of putting gas in cars. And yeah, once you get used to not putting gas in cars anymore, it's just really hard to go back. So yeah, that's true of the Kandi vehicles and all of the other electric cars we have. So, all right, thanks a whole lot, Johnny. I really appreciate it. And you and your cohorts dialing in here tonight. So I think that we'll wrap it up with you. We'll go on to a little bit of discussion of photovoltaic power here. I know some folks wanted to talk about that, but it sounds like you have a real exciting business, a very good future ahead of you. So I really appreciate you coming and talking to us.
Well, I thank you guys so much, and I look forward, someday I can meet you guys in person and join your, meeting.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. We all know that vaccines are being worked on and so forth, and we'll be getting together as soon as we can in person regularly. We have kind of determined that we're just going to keep using Zoom as well, even when we do have in-person meetings, because we can tie in people from all around.
It's convenient. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so glad that we could tie in Ann Arbor today, and we've tied in folks from Canada before and other places as well. And so that's really good. And so I think we got a good head count from the people that were present today as far as December. So, we'll talk about that some more next month. And as I mentioned, it's good that we've got Jeff Ebert on tonight. He'll talk about batteries next month. And we'll post that information on our website and Facebook. So thanks a lot to our speakers. And I think now we'll switch over to that topic of PV. And as I said, we can keep going for as long as folks want. If folks want to disconnect at 8:30, they're certainly welcome to do that. Folks that want to keep going can chime in with their opinions on PV on rooftops or utility PV. I think that there's been a lot happening with PV going on to people's homes here in Houston. So the West Houston group was mentioned. There's an East Houston group that just assigned or picked a installer. And so that is going on now for the East Houston group. And I think they want to subdivide Houston even more geographically, because that becomes more efficient than for the installing companies. They wouldn't have to drive around so much. So just to finish off the end of the chats, I see that Robert wrote there, don't forget Cuba, another island. They're still driving cars manufactured when Eisenhower was president. You would have to help with the infrastructure, electric production, i.e. solar and perhaps wind. Should be no issues between China and Cuba. And Charles, I see that you've added in here. Hi all, I'm going to drop off. It was a pleasure to speak with you all tonight. Yeah, I see you waving. If anyone would like to reach out, feel free. And there's your contact information in the chat. So, all right.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I see you shortened Charles to Chaz. I was referred to you as Chaz.
That's okay.
It's in your,
we had to figure out a way when I was a teenager and girls started calling the house and not get my dad in trouble.
Ah.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Dave, and thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Okay.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. So who wants to start off talking about PV? I think somebody had some questions about maybe what installer they wanted to go with. Yen and John. Yeah, go ahead, Yen.
Yes, so it was Seth who was talking about
just having completed an install.
Mm-hmm. And who was it with?
So I was part of the West Houston Co-op, and we chose Sunshine Renewables as our vendor. As of the last I knew, they'd signed 7 contracts with folks from the co-op, and there was still a half a dozen folks more that had offers and had proposals in hand.
Where's Sunshine Renewables?
They've got a local office here in town. I think the company's actually out of Dallas, but I've been dealing with folks that are local. Although the installer that I had, no, Emma, I don't have pictures yet, and I can't get anything decent from ground level.
You need to find a friend with a drone.
Well, no, well, they're supposed to be providing me with the photos that they submitted to Centerpoint for the inspection, for the sign off.
Yeah.
So I don't have pictures yet, but I should shortly, hopefully by next month's meeting.
Yeah, okay, that'd be good. We'll plan on having you show.
Yeah, I mean, Emma's already pestering me about coming to do a presentation on solar. Yeah, the moment she heard I'd signed the contract.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'd done a lot of research before I found out about the co-op. I was on the verge of going with Sunrun, who markets through Costco. For anyone who's a Costco member, Costco will give you a Costco gift card for 10% of the cost of the hardware. So that's your panels and your inverters, etc. So that's a nice incentive to go through Costco. And actually, the price that I got through Sunshine Renewables was essentially the same as the Costco price, but I felt more comfortable dealing with a smaller, more local company.
Mm-hmm.
The advantage to going through something like Sunrun and their deal with Costco is if you're worried about long-term warranties and who's backing them, maybe going with a bigger company is a better idea. But
yeah, there's always that issue of the long term. Exactly.
Right. So as far as materials go, I went with panels from LG, which yeah, it's not exactly a small company. I've got quite a collection of LG appliances in my house, and I've had good experiences with them over the LG products over the years. And my inverters are from Enphase. So I've got a separate microinverter on each panel, and then the panels are grouped together into 3 arrays, and then they go into a control box.
What kind of LG?
When I first looked at solar 5+ years ago, microinverters really weren't a mature technology, and my roof wasn't a good candidate for arrays where you had 1 inverter per array. So that advancing technology helped. The other thing you want to consider is age of your roof. You want to have a fairly new roof when you put on a solar installation. What actually drove me to do the installation this year, besides the tax credit, is I got some windows done in the spring, and my contractor noticed that I had hail damage, and my insurance company agreed to pay for a new roof. So despite the fact that my installation could have happened 2 weeks earlier if I hadn't had to wait for the roof to get done. That's a good question, John. I was looking at NP2. I'm actually just decided yesterday that I was going to go with Green Mountain Energy's buyback plan, where they'll pay you exactly the same rate for the excess energy you generate during the day that you pay them for the energy at night. Maybe once I have more data and a better idea on how my usage falls out, and my kids are all back in college and not at home, I might look at NP2. It looks like NP2, you pay real-time wholesale plus the distribution charge for what you download. They only pay you real-time wholesale for what you upload. But in theory, you should be, depending on where your panels are situated, you should be uploading, generating excess power during the higher rate period. I do notice that my peak generation, just looking at my meter over the last couple of days since my panel first got activated, I'm basically not drawing anything from the grid until about 4 o'clock. I'm starting to draw from the grid at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock is also when wholesale prices start going up. So right now, something like MP2 or Griddy would probably not be a good idea for me. But I don't have battery storage. If I had battery storage, and I could take some of that peak production during the afternoon and push off pulling from the grid till like 7 o'clock, something like MP2 or Griddy might be a good idea. I don't have enough panel coverage. I mean, I've had a couple of sunny days, and it looks like I'm generating in the high 40s, around 48 kilowatt hours. But my daily load this time of year when I'm running air conditioning is closer to 70. So I don't generate enough power to pull myself all the way through the day. That's just a factor of my roof size and my roof orientation. If you've got a southwest facing roof that gets good afternoon sun, I didn't look at battery days, so I don't know what I thought about it. But if you've got a good southwest exposure and you get good late afternoon sun, then something like, and you're going to be generating well into the afternoon, something like MP2 or Griddy could be a good option for your buyback. The only two companies offering a one-for-one buyback right now are Green Mountain Energy, and Reliant. And Green Mountain Energy is just a touch better deal.
And of course, most folks know that Green Mountain Energy is actually owned by Reliant. They bought them a few years ago. So it's really just brand names of the same.
It's funny that they're competitive with they compete with each other, considering that they're actually both owned by the same parent.
Yep.
I started, I did a contract with Tesla. So Tesla Solar is supposed to install, but I don't have an install date yet. And the reason I ask is because they're wanting me to switch to MP2 energy net metering. And I read some documentation that they provided, and they said it was traditional net metering, which meant that based on the total monthly usage and production, they would rebate the energy cost as well as the distribution charge.
I looked at MP2's website, and it's not clear that they actually rebate the distribution charge. I didn't actually call them.
Yeah, that was what the documentation I got from Tesla said, but I haven't read the actual, plan documents, the official document that talks about the plan itself.
Right. So I went and looked at the energy facts label that MP2 has on their website, and it didn't look to me like they actually pay you back the distribution. And then there's a group that if you join Sunrun, that'll do an analysis. I'm trying to remember what it was called. It was like Texas Power.
TexasPowerGuide.com, maybe?
Texas Power Guide, yeah, Texas Power Guide. Mm-hmm. And so they sent me an analysis based on my usage over the past year and my rating on my panel. And for MP2, it's got this big asterisk about wholesale pricing. And so if you've got a battery storage system, like I said, if you've got a battery storage system, because MP2 is not a net meter, it's they'll pay you real-time wholesale when you're sending them power, and you'll pay them real-time wholesale when they're sending you power. Mm-hmm. And I am right now just looking at my power profile. Everybody comes home at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and between 5 and 8, I'm sucking down power. I'm drawing from the grid, and that's when wholesale's at its highest price. Was it June of last year where there was that confluence events where a lot of generation went offline and wholesale spiked.
I think that was August of last year.
August last year.
Yeah, and it didn't happen August of this year.
No, it didn't happen this
People
year
are
because we didn't
watching.
have the same type of confluence
Right.
of events. We didn't have the heat wave coupled with plants going offline.
Right.
But a spike like that with my usage pattern could wipe out an entire year of savings.
Sure.
Now, if I had a battery that would carry me through till 7 or 8 o'clock, I'd avoid that spike. But my budget I didn't have the budget to, I didn't finance my system. I had cash.
Sure.
So, and I didn't have enough cash to do a battery this year. So the numbers are different. The numbers are different if you're financing.
Yeah, I'm currently with Gritty, so I'll have to probably decide either way. Gritty talks about if it's a smaller system, it might work out well because they're only giving back the energy within 15-minute windows. And the system that I'm going to do from Tesla is an 8 kilowatt system. So it's a smaller system, but I'm also planning to do air conditioner and windows. So I should actually turn it into a system that's rightly sized for my house after that. And so the Tesla price point is $2 a watt installed before the credit. And then if they do it this year with the tax credit, it would be $1.50. That's what they're advertising, $1.50 a watt for installed.
Yeah, I came in under that. I was $1.65 before the tax credit.
Wow.
Yeah. Tesla actually, I looked at Tesla, I looked at Sunrun, I looked at 5 or 6 different ones, and Tesla was actually the most expensive option out there.
And you paid an installer to install your panels?
Yeah.
At 169.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Like I said, I went through the co-op, and the co-op got some very good pricing.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because based on my calculations, I could install it myself and buy used panels for $1.20 a watt. So to
I'm
get
actually.
Go ahead.
I'm looking through my Dropbox to find my files.
I mean, that was like 30 cents a watt for used panels.
And then balance of systems brought it up to what you said. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it costs like 60, 70 cents, something like that for the microinverters for Enphase, because you can't really get those used. And then all the hardware to install it is like another 60, 70 cents a watt.
So when I priced out Tesla, when I priced out Tesla, Tesla was $234 a watt.
When was that, Seth?
That was would have been over the summer. Would have been July. When did Sunrun? When did Solar United Neighbors come talk to us? Because it was a month. It was the month before that.
Was it May?
And I was
May or June.
So May. So it would have been back in May that I priced out Tesla. I was looking from Tesla at 11.34 kilowatt system, and they're priced out as $234 a watt before the tax credit.
So they came out with that $1.50 a watt after the tax credit in July or August. July, I believe. So it was this summer. So it was after you looked.
It was after I priced.
After you priced. And
I lied on my number. My number came out as $1.81 per watt.
Was that before or after the tax credit?
That was after the credit.
Per
Okay.
watt or per kilowatt?
No, per watt.
Per watt.
So
That was after the tax credit, but I also ended up with a larger system than I was looking at for Tesla with the Tesla when I priced out the Tesla, and I got some add-ins in there.
Yeah, so that $1.81 after the tax credit is pretty good. It's
good.
pretty
It's not great.
standard. The problem, not the problem. The thing is that Tesla kind of knocked everybody over on its head with this $1.50 a watt after the tax credit, which is what John signed into. And other installers are having to adjust to those prices. And so I have a friend that just put solar on a house, and he used Chris Hayden's company. I don't know if you guys remember Christopher Hayden. Chris is one of our members.
The name sounds familiar.
And his company is Kilowatt Solar. And Chris worked for Tesla before, probably a year ago, when they were in the market, and then they got out of the market. They transitioned from Solar City to Tesla, and then they got out of the market. Then they came back this spring, and then announced this crazy pricing. And so Chris actually initially, when the pricing came out from Tesla, he had just formed his company this year, and so he was having to really talk to his suppliers and figure out how they were going to compete with that. But they've actually redone their numbers, and my friend went with Chris primarily because the feeling might be that Tesla is still building this market, and they have to do a lot of things like find, install crews, get supply chain going, and all.
Yeah, how timely can you get that actually installed from Tesla?
Right, and so that's the question. And so because of the question on timeliness, and because Chris is local, and we actually know Chris. Some of us know Chris for quite some time. He's very knowledgeable, and I believe that he will stand by his product, and he's smart enough to not run himself out of business, as long as he can, as long as.
Yeah. So one of my question marks on Tesla was their actual physical product.
Yeah, they won't do microinverters.
Okay, so if they don't do microinverters, I couldn't put Tesla on my roof.
No, you could put power optimizers on your roof, which are a Solar Edge product.
Yeah, they're going to do Solar Edge on my roof. I wanted microinverters, and I asked them about it, and they said they just don't do it. They actually prefer string inverters, but because I had some shading, they allowed to step my system up to Solar Edge optimizers.
Okay.
Well, for me, it's not so much the shading, is roof penetrations and how I can put my panels together. I mean, about 5 years ago, I talked to Texas Solar Outfitters, and he came out here and he looked at my roof and he said, "I can't do it. You got too many roof penetrations."
That's who I'm talking with. Texas
Yeah,
Outfitters.
and I was happy with my discussions with him, and I'd met him. I'd looked at some of the roofs he'd done, but yeah, he came out here and he looked at my roof and he said, "The technology doesn't support it. When you get ready to do a roof and you can get rid of the roof penetrations, talk to me." But by the time I was ready to do a roof, with microinverters, I didn't need to get rid of the roof penetrations.
I don't really know what you mean by roof penetrations.
Vent pipes.
Vent pipes and other things that you generally have to put your panels around because it costs a lot of money if you want to relocate a bathroom vent, a chimney from a furnace flue.
Furnace vents, bathroom
that goes
vents.
through your roof, right? Anywhere that it's convenient for the builder to put them through, it generally makes it hard to put a set of panels across that area.
I don't really understand how that is affected by the type of inverter.
Well, Seth, I think what you're saying is that you can't do string inverters because of the way
Couldn't
that
build
you're-
strings.
Right, you couldn't build strings, but you could build a solar edge system because it's just like microinverters. The difference is the power optimization is done at each panel with a power optimizer. And so the MPPT curve, part of the electronics, is up at each panel. But then that is run down to a centralized inverter that is placed. So you can actually put a solar edge system anywhere really,
Okay.
and then run the cabling down to a centralized inverter that works with the power optimizers. So you could use microinverters, or you could use power optimizers.
So, Kevin, are you saying that on a string inverter, I thought you just cut the wire to length. Is that not true? You can't cut the wire? So you have to put the panels relative to each other?
No, you can, but the problem is that when you have a string, your power optimization, the MPPT, if you have different locations, enough different locations or different slopes on the panels won't produce the same amount. And so the lowest on a string, the lowest panel drives the string. And so your total power generation curve, the area under the curve is smaller.
Oh, okay.
And so if you can optimize the power on each individual panel, then you actually increase the area under the curve. And microinverters do that, and so do optimizers. They just
Got it.
They just do it.
They do it a little differently.
Yes, the whole microinverter is the whole unit. It actually does the optimization and inverts from DC to AC at the panel. And the power optimizer, they separate the power MPPT maximization they do that at the panel, and then they send a DC signal down to the inverter, a centralized inverter, and the inverter does the AC conversion centralized.
Yeah, I got biased towards the end phase because my roommate from my first job out of college is actually the person that end phase hired to make them work. He doesn't work for them now, but at the time when they were making the IQ7, he's the one that actually figured out how to make them work.
Well, let me tell
I
you.
think all the manufacturers have improved their products over time, but the way I understand it, since electronics don't like heat, and underneath the solar panel is one of the hottest places you can be, what SolarEdge decided to do is put just the minimal amount of electronics in that hot place and put all the other electronics in one box.
Yeah, and look, Seth, I think Dave, you've got SolarEdge as well, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, and so do I. So 4 or 5 years ago, when we put our systems on, there were two things that SolarEdge had an advantage on over Enphase. One was that the Enphase had an issue with their first, and Bill Swan's not on here, he knows about it, their first generation microinverters and some of their second generation microinverters had an issue of overheating. There's a capacitor in the inverter, a bank of capacitors, and they don't like heat very much.
Yeah.
So that was then. the other thing was that because you didn't have to duplicate the inverter side of the electronics for every panel, the Solar Edge system was a little less expensive. Enphase has actually improved their system to where they don't have heat issues anymore through generation
Right.
3 and 4.
That's the problem my buddy solved.
Right, and so they don't have the heat issue, and they've also gotten competitive with the pricing to where it's almost like which installer gets
It's what
a
does your
better deal.
It's what does your
Yes.
installer like to use?
Yeah, exactly. And so you know, I'm as folks on this in this group know, I love any kind of solar and any kind of EV. So
Right. So the 169 that I had initially quoted, that's what it would have been if I'd gone with the solarized panels.
Yeah, the Solar Edge.
No, not the Solar Edge inverters. There's a outfit out of San Antonio that makes panels here in the States.
Oh, okay.
So if I'd gone with their panels, and I think that company was Solarize.
Okay.
And if I'd gone with those panels, it would have come in at $169. But for the difference in the panels, the LG panels had a better output per panel, a better warranty, and LG is a company with a track record.
What LG? 350?
I think I did go with the 350s.
350s. How many panels?
41.
41 panels. That's a lot.
I put panels every place it made sense.
But, and so what is your production? Your annual production with that?
That is supposedly a 13.7 kilowatt system.
13.7. 13.7, 40 panels. So may I ask how much you paid?
$1.82.
$1.84 per watt. I mean,
$1?
Yeah.
Well, $1.84 per watt after the tax credit. So.
Okay, I don't get that. The watt, because I have a pricing according to kilowatt.
You just divide by 1,000.
Divide by 1,000.
So I have a $2.70 per kilowatt.
That's per watt.
No,
It's per watt. It's not kilowatt.
No, that's $2.70 per watt.
Yeah, systems are rated in kilowatts because that's what you're using. Like Seth said, 13 point something kilowatts for the whole system. But for pricing, they price per watt because they've just divided everything down.
Okay, so it's really $2.70 a watt.
Yes.
That sounds, and that's before the tax credit.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So 0.74 times that gets you the pricing per watt after the credit.
Okay.
Through the end of December.
It's provided you get the system installed by the end of December.
So, yeah. So let's calculate. Can we calculate to see if I'm getting a good deal here? So what do I have to do?
2.7 times 0.76.
2.7
times 0.76.
Times 0.76. Okay, $2.05 then.
That sounds a little high for the market right now.
Oh.
So it's going to depend on things like what efficiency.
Which panel you have.
Yeah, which panel, how many watts you get from a standard size panel. Because
hey guys.
The LG 350, I mean, the LG 350.
Yeah, Steve.
LG.
Steve was saying something.
Yeah, I was just, I'd like to see if we can get a little discussion about the panels. Seems like every installer has a panel that they recommend. Anybody have any discussion about, obviously they're all, the efficiencies are getting up, the wattage output per panel is increasing. I'm just wondering, how are people deciding what kind of panels to use?
Well, one thing is that probably the volume discounting that particular installer can get for panels might influence what they're pushing in terms of panels. Generally, they'll let people choose different ones. If you have unlimited roof area, you can go with a low efficiency panel. They cost less, but you're putting panels over more roof area. If you have a limited roof area, you have to do that calculation like Seth did and see if you want a more efficient panel, because then your total system output will go up with a given.
Right. So I looked at panel efficiency. I looked at wind ratings. I looked at hail ratings.
Yeah.
I looked at warranties. I looked at, and in looking at warranties, I looked at the relative strength of the company. Yeah.
Yeah. So I see
LOD is
Steve's
a
writing those
Korean
things.
conglomerate that's been around for 80 years.
Yeah.
And has been pretty nimble.
Yeah. Okay, Kevin, you want to give Steve
Yeah.
more?
So there's this tier rating system for panels, right? And most suppliers will either supply you a tier 1 or a tier 2 panel.
Right.
It really does have to do with the deal that the installer is getting from their suppliers, and they will quote you a couple of different panels. All the tier 1 panels meet the same performance numbers, and as far as wind rating and hail rating and all that,
yeah,
that is all actually handled by the professional engineer that signs off on the job. They have to install the panel that meets the I forget what the there's dependent on how close you are to the coast, and dependent whether you're in tornado territory or hail. There are different sizes of hail, and all of that stuff, they have regions. So when an engineer goes in and designs your system, they actually have to take your house address is going to be in a certain region
and those ratings are not just on the panels, it's on the attachment systems.
That's correct. And so that's all going to be handled. I mean, you can get really down in the weeds if you so desire, but the system is set up for them to get a professional engineer to sign off on the system, which most of the big companies have their own engineering staff. They're going to meet all those requirements.
Yeah.
And so the panel efficiencies and stuff, when I talk to people about solar,
they're insane now compared to what they were 10 years ago.
They are, and really it comes down to economics for me. People talk about, well, I put $20,000 on the roof. How long is it going to take me to get the $20,000 back? The answer to that question that I give is you're going to get it back when you sell the house. You're going to get the $20,000 back when you sell the house, because your house is going up in value when you put that solar system on. It's just like if you built a bedroom or a pool on the house. You would not chop that off and take it with you. You sell it with the house. So now what you're talking about is how much is the revenue generated from this investment you put on your property. And oh, by the way, you know about the tax exemption, right, for renewables. So you get exempt from the ad valorem property tax on the house. The tax assessor comes, they add value to your house, and then you fill out a tax exemption form that exempts you from paying taxes on that added value. So you don't even pay taxes. If you built a bedroom or a pool, they would increase the value of your house and you would pay higher taxes because your house was worth more. But if you add solar or wind, any renewables, geothermal is another one, you actually get exempt from it in the state of Texas. So you fill out the tax exemption form. So the question is how much, when you flip that switch on, you're generating revenue on that investment. And solar today will reach, if you calculate out how much the solar will produce over 25 years, it's about 10% return on your investment, 10% annualized return on your investment. You can't get that long-term out of the stock market.
That's why I invested cash.
Right. And then if you want to, you can do cash, but you can also finance on a home equity loan or a home improvement loan or a mortgage.
If
you have the cash,
If
if you have the cash,
you've got the cash, it's a better return than any place else you could stash the cash right now.
that's true. But if your investments are doing pretty good, you're in a kind of a boom market, you might consider financing it at 3%.
If you bought some Tesla stock.
But the other way to look at it is it's also a way kind of to freeze your electricity costs. If you look at
Yes.
I put this much money into the house, I'm buying this much electricity over a period of time. How much does that electricity cost me? And we're down in the 6s with solar today. If you do the numbers, you're spending 6 cents a kilowatt or 6.5 cents a kilowatt or 6.4 cents a kilowatt hour. So any way you look at solar today,
it's a great deal.
A great deal. It is a great investment, and it's a great return on investment.
So I'm just wondering, who should I go with the Texas Solar Outfitter deal?
Have you gotten quotes from more than one installer?
Yes, I've gotten Sun Power, Sun Pro, and Texas Outfitter.
Crawl up. I think your 270 deal is a little high, or two something.
She was 270 before credits.
Yeah, 205.
205 after credits.
Why don't you call Kilowatt Solar? That's another one. If you can get on a group buy, that's the best deal, except for Tesla. Tesla is really pushing the market. So the best deal you can get today is Tesla, if they'll install you a system this year. Then after, I would say that a group buy. So
and the co-op and the Sunrun co-op just closed yesterday.
The Sunrun co-op. So you may not be able to get into a co-op this year.
Oh.
Unfortunately. Where are you? What part of the city are you in?
Southeast, like Beltway 8 and 45.
Okay. So I don't know of the organization that organizes those is called Solar United Neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And you get on their website and you see if they're doing anything in your area.
Solar United?
Solar United Neighbors.
Yeah, go in there tonight, because even though the co-op officially closed yesterday, I know West Co-op took members several days after it officially closed.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same things. Contact them or Dory, because they might still let you in on that.
They might still let you in.
The West, which one?
Well,
Solar United Neighbors.
The East one is the one that has most recently chosen an installer. The West one was a little whiles back in time. So the East one would be the one that they could still let you in on, which would actually fit your geographic area anyway.
Yeah, the East one officially closed yesterday to new members, but
I would tell you that if you're in a reasonably close to the area, that they will probably add you. Because
geographically they aren't so strict. And
right.
That said,
geographically, I was closer to the East one than the West one.
Yeah,
I wasn't in either of their regions.
Yeah, they're just trying to do that to help the installer save on costs. And I have Chris's email address here if you're ready, Yen.
Sure.
Chris,
yes.
CHRIS.
CHRIS.
@ KW.SOLAR.
No, that's not his address, because he's not working for KW Solar, Dave. Let me give you
okay.
his.
Strike
So
that.
I just want to, don't copy that one. But I just want to tell you, Solar United Neighbors, contact them and get them to give you let you in and give you a price. And then the other company is called Kilowatt Solar. Kilowatt Solar. And the gentleman that owns it, his name is Christopher Hayden.
Mm-hmm.
And his email address is Chris, CHRIS .H @ KILOwattsolar.com, and that's KILOWATTSOLAR.
SOLAR. KilowattSolar.com.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that the other address works too, because it's kw.solar. Solar is one of those new domains like .com and .net. There's now .space, there's now .music, there's now all kinds of things, and .solar is a new one, and he, I believe, got
No, but Dave, that's KW. KW is the company you worked for before.
KW stands for kilowatt.
I know, but that's the company he worked for before. I don't.
You just said this one is kilowattsolar.com.
I know that, but I think KW Solar was a different company. KW was the company that he worked for before he opened his own shop, which is Kilowatt Solar.
So the address is chris.h@kilowattsolar.com.
Yeah, WATT solar.com. That's right.
Okay.
Solar.com.
It's confusing because he was working for KW Solar, which was a solar installer in the Houston area. I think they're still here, but he left them.
Okay.
And started his own company with a partner.
So, and that's who you have it with?
I installed my solar 5 years ago. I did. I did the group buy with Solarize back when they were before they were called Solar United Neighbors. They were called Solarize Houston. Was that what they were called, you guys? Solarize Houston. And the gentleman that got the bid for that group was oh goodness, hold on a minute. Bearded guy, really nice. Advanced Solar Design. What is his name? Anyways, he got the bid. I actually
Richard Sherwood.
Richard Sherwood, thank you. And I actually know Richard, and I harangued him into letting Bill Swan do my design, and me being integral in the whole thing because I want to learn how it went, and filed the permits and did all that stuff. So I kind of got the pricing of the group buy, but I also got to learn a lot about how the whole process works. Richard was very, very kind. He's not actively doing solar installs. I don't know what he's doing these days. I need to visit with him,
But you have, did you say you have the in-phase microinverter or no?
I have the SolarEdge system.
He's got the SolarEdge system. I've got the in-phase microinverters.
Okay, that's what they're quoting me, the in-phase microinverters.
Yeah, and it's a good system. In-phase is a good. Yep, it's good. In-phase is good. SolarEdge is good.
Yeah,
they're both. I at this point, it's really about your installer and his supply network and how he does better. Both technologies are good technologies. I think at this point, I would recommend both of them.
Yeah, well,
I should contact like Chris Hayden with Kilowatt Solar and Solar United Neighbors.
Yes.
Co-op. How
Yes.
how do I get in touch with them?
Well,
With the
Solar United Neighbors.
Solar United Neighbors.
Yes.
Yes.
You can Google them for the website, and I am looking to see if I've got Dory's email saved.
Go to the website.
Okay,
Solar United Neighbors.
So Dory Wolf is DWOLFE.
WOLFE.
So
S
D,
as in
wolf like the animal with an E on the end.
Can you type it in the chat, please?
Yes, I can probably do that. That's probably easier.
What the co-op, how does the co-op work for solar?
So how the co-op works is they get together with a bunch of people and they go to solicit bids from multiple vendors.
Okay.
And then they choose an installer and then send that name out to everyone and the details out to everyone in the co-op. And then each member of the co-op contacts that installer. Actually, they get an email saying, I think the installer gets an email and sends it out the email, or the people can contact the installer. They're part of the co-op. They got the co-op pricing, and the installer comes out and makes a bid on their individual system.
Okay.
At the co-op pricing.
At the co-op pricing. Okay. It's like a group buy.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes and no, because you're individually buying, but at a group price.
At a group price. Uh-huh. And your group price, you said, was like 184?
That was after the tax credit is what it worked out to.
That's pretty good.
And in my case, I got a couple of upgrades. I needed a new panel, and then I had a couple other things that I had them do.
But you did
part of the reason why we went with that particular vendor was, their base pricing wasn't the best. Their base offering price wasn't the best, but when you start looking at upgrades, like the change in panels from the base system, I knew some people needed that. We had a couple of people that wanted yard mounts. We had a lot of people that were interested in batteries. And when you started looking at the pricing on those, they turned out to be a better deal. Just double checking that I typed this right. Looks right. I'm hitting send.
Okay.
But send Dory an email like right now.
Okay.
Because my understanding is the East Co-op closed yesterday.
All right.
But yeah, tell her you're part of HEAA. Us.
Yes, yes. And it's called, this organization, this group is called, I forget.
Houston Electric Auto, HEAA, Houston Electric Automobile Association.
Okay.
Because she came and talked to us back in the spring.
Oh, really?
Which is how I found out about Solar United Neighbors.
Okay.
So she's got an affinity for us. So that might help you get snuck in.
Okay. I'll tell him that you told me about her, about this co-op.
Exactly.
And her name is Doris?
Dory, D-O-R-I.
D-O-R-I, Dory Wolf. Okay, I'll get right to it.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is great to hear that you're getting solar on your roof.
Yes, we've been looking into it for, let me see, since like May, April or May. But then with the pandemic, well, before the pandemic. And then when the pandemic hit, so it was like in February or even January. And then when the pandemic hit, we just like, kind of put it aside. Okay. And now.
Yeah, and just to make you aware, I mentioned December 31st. So the 26% tax credit, the reason why you multiplied times 0.74 is going to drop down to a 22% tax credit.
I know.
January 1st. So you need to get the new system in and turned on before that date, or you pay 4% more.
That's the thing. So
and that's the risk with Tesla.
With Tesla, the thing with Tesla is, I was looking into their power. What is it? The solar power.
The power wall. The solar tiles.
Yes.
The solar tiles is like way outrageous, and no way you'll get it. No way you'll get that installed this year.
Ah, I see. And it's so expensive.
It's outrageously expensive, and there's no way you'll get it installed this year.
Okay, I see.
The production rate on the tiles is just not there yet.
I see. So no tax credit. I mean, at this year's.
Yeah, you'll be. I mean, from what I've been seeing on the production rate on those, you'd be lucky to get it next year.
Ah, I see.
And that's basically the same case for the power walls as well. They're just way back ordered, and there's no way to get power walls this year either.
Is that true that they're back ordered still, Emma?
Yeah, well, that's
I heard
what,
that they were doing better.
no, that's what Dory had said, but I actually went to the Tesla showroom and talked to someone there, and they said, yeah, she said she wouldn't expect them to get back on track or she wouldn't expect that if I ordered that I would get the batteries until about 6 months. And I've asked a couple times for them to have a more technical person contact me, and they haven't even bothered.
That's interesting because the guys that did my install seemed to feel like they could get them.
Well, that's not what I heard from Dory or from these people at the Tesla. Unless they have some in stock somehow that they haven't sold to anybody, but that didn't sound
that might be the case. Maybe they've got a source that's got them in stock and not waiting on back order.
That would be my guess too. Yeah, people have bought them up because they're selling systems, and if they didn't have them, they wouldn't be able to complete the systems they've sold. So yeah, I bet people have bought some up already.
Yeah, well, apparently it isn't looking good for me, which is because even the East, because I was part of the East Sun Co-op, and the installer, I've emailed with him a couple times, and I told him kind of what my thoughts were in terms of what I was looking for, and he hasn't gotten back to me. So I'm just like,
So what are the? I know there are other battery options out there because part of the reason we chose the installer we chose, Sunshine Renewables, was they offered other battery options.
Yeah, this one does too, but given the limited space I have in my garage, I really feel like the power walls are going to be the best option for me because of the capacity.
Got it. Yeah.
And then also the software aspects. I'm really unfamiliar with the other systems and the software that's available for those systems. So,
as far as actual Powerwall availability, you might also email Chris Hayden, because I bet he has the knowledge of what's available.
Oh, that's a good idea. Okay,
yeah.
Thanks.
Because he's so tied into everything. He would know if there's some in a warehouse somewhere that he could get to you or something like that.
Well, and I asked that Tesla, the speaker from, was it last month?
Vivas?
Yeah, I asked him if he had heard about the power walls being back ordered, and he said he wasn't surprised because, Tesla's building batteries for cars. Power walls isn't really, on the top of their priority at this point, because they're just trying to churn out batteries for cars.
That, and also for megapacks, which soak up a lot more batteries than power walls from their production.
Emma, have you actually gone to the Tesla website and ordered a system?
No. I didn't place an order, but I went to the website to price and to kind of get a sense of what, because the other thing I was trying to do too is, like I said, because I have limited space in my garage, I really am leaning towards just getting 2 power walls versus 3. But according to Tesla's page, they said that if I wanted to run an AC and my pool pump, then I needed 3. And I was like, well, I don't think I really need 3, because there were other appliances, like 240 volt appliances, that they were suggesting if you had 2 power walls, you can run AC and then all these other appliances. But I don't need to run those appliances. That's not what I wanted. That's not what I want to, if I were in a backup situation, I would only really want to run an AC and a pool pump and all the other stuff. I don't really, other than, 110 lights, which is hardly anything.
I bet Chris Hayden would be a good person to ask for an opinion on 2 or 3. You
Yeah.
describe to him things and he could tell you.
Okay.
Based on his experience, he's got a lot of experience. He knows
Okay.
what draws and this, that, and the other thing, such
Yeah.
what you need to be able to power the equipment. Yeah.
I didn't realize he had done some battery installs.
He didn't before batteries existed in
Yeah.
systems, but he keeps up on everything, so he knows. And he's told me personally, I've had lunch with him and stuff, that he can do those things, and so he knows the capabilities as they've gone through the Powerwall generations and so forth.
Oh, great! Thanks.
So
I found this extended conversation informative.
I think a lot of people have, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the good thing about sticking around to the end. Different people have stuck around different amounts. I see in the participant list that John Atwood and Mike Zutek are still there as well too. So.
Well, it's 9:24. When I was the president before Dave, I used to say, and you've now wasted another precious hour of your life with HEAA. But that was just tongue in cheek, because it actually is very nice to spend time.
So I have a totally unrelated question for Dave.
Sure.
Do you mountain bike?
Do I mountain bike? No, that's something I haven't really gotten into.
Okay, so there's somebody else floating around Houston with your name.
Probably, yeah. There's John back on the video again.
Yeah, I was reading an article about somebody who had a mountain bike accident, and the buddy that was with him that called 911 had your name.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it pop up in different places. Yeah.
So I was wondering if it was you or not.
Nope, not in that case.
But I was like, oh, I know a Dave Hansen. I wonder if it's the same one.
I do mountain biking, but me and Dave didn't have an accident.
Yeah.
I have a question for the Tesla owners.
Okay.
After you have supercharged, do you ever experience, and maybe if Mike is still listening in, experience that the cooling system makes a lot of a very loud noise?
I think that occurs on a number of different models. Mike, having an X might be most applicable to you with your X, but yeah, both our 3 and our Model S, yeah, there's piping that makes noise with the cooling system at all different times.
All different times. Mine seems to happen mostly like after I've supercharged, and maybe it's because it's working hard on cooling the battery pack along with running my air conditioning, which has been on while I've been sitting there charging. It just seems to be extremely loud. And I worry sometimes. I'm like, is this really normal?
Well, one thing that we did when we first got our used Model S, and we had they called it the maintenance plan. It was for 4 years. And so when we went in the first time, we asked them about the noise, and they actually put a quieting kit or hush kit or something around some equipment, which did help. But it's still loud and noisy and comes on and off at all different odd times. So you can be in the garage, you can be out on the road. Like you said,
yeah, it's weird when the other electric vehicles do that too, that have active cooling systems, and it's weird to hear it just like kick in when you thought the car was fully charged already. It just decides that something in the temperatures are such that it wants to cool some.
Does it make any squealing or difference noise, or is it just louder noise that it makes at all times, Emma?
It's just, yeah, the volume is very loud.
It's just running the, the noise comes from the fact that it's running they have variable speed on the water pumps and they have variable speed on the fans. And so they just, they're going to run them at whatever the speed they have to, the maximum amount to get the temperature down.
And probably variable speed on the compressors too.
Yeah, and the variable speed compressor. Yep.
I mean, that's usually the loud component is the compressor.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I can see you can put a hush kit around the compressor without it affecting the thermal efficiency that much to deaden, just like we do with the sound isolating equipment in the spacecraft.
Yeah.
Emma works at JSC, so.
Yeah. Of course, since they've improved the software now, if you're running a route and your car knows that you're coming up to a supercharger, you'll see a notice 15 minutes or so before that it's moderating the temperature of the battery to prepare it for supercharging.
Oh, I guess I didn't read that update.
Yeah, so that, in fact, sometimes when you don't need the navigation because you know where you're going and stuff, if you put it in because you're going to a supercharger on the route you're going, it will precondition the battery to get it ready for more efficient supercharging. I think both time-wise and power-wise, more efficient. Yeah.
That sounds smart.
Yeah. So our cars didn't do that before, but then they wrote software to do that. So it ties the information from the navigation, and your next stop on the route to your destination is a supercharger. It'll do that.
Yeah, that brings to mind a thought I had when the gentleman from Kandi was talking, and the question was asked about what they do for thermal management. The Kandi isn't competitive with a used Leaf. It's a good entry-level vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to have its spot in the market. When he's mentioned Florida, I thought about it's well known in a lot of retirement communities that people buy golf carts just to go around in their neighborhood, to go over to their
and the Kandi would be perfect in that environment.
Right. I was just going to say, it's probably better than a golf cart because it's all enclosed.
And it's air conditioned.
You can leave items in it, closed and locked that you might not leave in a golf cart at your clubhouse. And so when he mentioned Florida, that was what came to mind to me, is that there'd be a lot of people that would find that it meets their needs for that.
It definitely has a niche. Certainly wouldn't meet my commute whenever I start commuting again.
Yeah, that's what everyone, of course, is wondering now, is when people will be allowed to go back to JC again.
My management is talking about letting us stay virtual.
Well, good. Give you the option then, yeah.
But,
yeah, I think it's being encouraged, even if we do go back to level 2.
My management says level two, you have to have a good justification to come in.
Right. So somebody
level
earlier,
1, you're still going to encourage it.
Yeah. Somebody earlier had asked a question about if people had watched the battery day, Tesla's battery day. I kind of joined a little late too, so I didn't know if you guys had had a chance to chat about that.
We hadn't, and I think the person that asked that question dropped off.
Go ahead.
Hi, guys.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's a goodbye wave. I thought it was a question wave. Okay.
Guys, I'm gonna
I have to go
say
eat
goodnight
dinner.
I'm gonna go.
Thank you
say
so
goodnight
much. I really
also.
appreciate it.
Okay, Yen. Bye-bye.
Take care, Yen.
See you next month.
Good night.
Good night also.
Good
you
night.
guys.
And good luck with your decision.
Yes, I'll tell you all about it.
We always like people to tell us. Oh, she's already gone.
Yeah. So, Kevin, just having heard about United on the news, I won't ask a lot, but you doing okay?
I'm fine. We actually, okay. So I'm coming to the realization that I'm one of the old guys now because I've been there 28 years. So
Yeah.
so I'm
You got very
number
soft, Kevin.
about 3,000. I'm number 3,000 out of 13,000 pilots. So if I were to get furloughed, the company would probably go Chapter 7 liquidation.
Yeah.
But we're not going to furlough anybody yet on the pilot side because we signed an agreement, relatively short year term. It's actually a 2-year deal where we're going to take a 50% pay cut. It's tiered, but roughly 50% pay cut to keep everybody on through June, because the company is wanting to have the flexibility to come back into markets as they come back. If we get a vaccine, get it distributed, borders start opening up, they'll have markets. And with pilots, the problem is that we have these big training cycles, and with a seniority list, you let the bottom of the seniority list go, and then everybody moves down. They have to be retrained in the new equipment and seats. And then the reverse is the same when you start opening back up and start adding aircraft. You have to retrain. So to keep
And that gets expensive.
It's expensive and it's time consuming. So to keep that from happening, we've signed an agreement to keep everybody on.
You also had a fair number take voluntary leaves of absences.
We did.
I know a few people in that boat.
600 roughly that have taken either retirements or a leave. That the airline itself is going to still lay off about 20,000 people, I think, 20-something thousand, maybe 30,000. And all the airlines are in the same boat. So it's not that hard. The math is not that hard. We're flying 30-something% of the schedule. I think in October they were scheduled to fly 40% of the schedule pre-COVID, so 40% of what we used to fly, and we're only filling the airplanes about half. So we're only carrying about 20% of the people that we did before COVID, and so you have all these aircraft assets, all these gate assets, real estate assets, and employee assets, and you don't have any
income
to pay for it. So
wow. Yeah.
So it's we're just buying time on the pilot side to hopefully bounce back. So we'll see. I think that most leisure will be back by next year, mid-year, summer, end of summer, sometime like that. But I'm not sure about the business, how much of the business will come back. I think that the side of business where you're trying to establish relationships with customers and those kind of things will come back, because you have to really see people face to face to establish a relationship. But all the quality control and support and all the stuff that people used to travel for before, unless you had to actually fix a machine or operate a machine, if you're just doing informational backup, why do you want to lose a day or two of productivity for an employee leaving and going on a business trip when they can get up in the morning, do a virtual call, get whatever they need to done in an hour or two, and then they can keep working.
Right.
So
right.
I think that the business models will adjust themselves, because the revenue models before this happened were about 60% of the revenue came from business and 40% came from leisure, and the margins on airlines are only about 13%. So if you lose a third of the business travel, you're going to wind up losing more than the existing margin was before it happened. So they're going to have to adjust the business model to be able to make money, and they will. But to answer, that was a long answer to your short question. I'm okay, except for I'm working half time. But I'm getting paid half time, but I'm also working half time, which means I have more days off. So I like it.
Good.
My wife Deirdre doesn't like it as much, I don't think, because I'm around the house and she has to babysit me more.
So are you retirement eligible if you wanted to go out?
They've offered a new deal that if you're 50 or more and you have 10 years of service, which I have both, I'm 57 and I have 28 years. They'll give you the deal is 5 years of pay at 50% and 5 years of health care. The problem with that deal for me is that it leaves me about 3 years short of being able to qualify for Medicare, and so it's really people that would have another business or something that would take it at that kind of an early stage.
Yeah.
I also enjoy flying actually, so it's not a I like doing it. I always wanted to, and I always have enjoyed it. Thank goodness. And so I'm not gonna see. I don't see myself retiring early, but 4 or 5 years from now, I'm healthy, but health can sometimes evade you, and you may maybe I'll invent the next. There was a Northwest pilot that actually designed the little suitcase with wheels on it, the Travel Pro suitcase, and he sold the company and retired early from Northwest. So maybe I'll
Before COVID hit, I was on the verge of going and get a current medical and getting current and making another shot at trying to fly for a living.
Oh, you were? Okay.
I got as far as a charter company summer 2001, flying out of Groton.
Okay.
Sent out 40 resumes on September 8th.
Yeah.
And then was essentially unemployed until Columbia crashed, and I went back to the space industry.
Yeah. That was the unfortunately the 2000s were the decade of hell, I guess people say. And
airlines were just starting to hire again when I hired into NASA in 06, and I contemplated getting current then, but I decided to stay married.
It is a hard deal to get into. If you start flying, the most junior bases are normally on the East and West Coast. Those are the most expensive places to live. And if you're not from there, it's hard to move everybody out there, especially if you're in your mid 30s, 40s, and you got kids and all that. And then you can live in the Midwest, Houston, Dallas, Chicago, and I've been very fortunate. I started working in Houston. I spent a few months up in Cleveland and a couple of months in Guam. But
so you're Heritage Continental.
I'm Heritage Continental, yeah. So I've been very fortunate, and in 2000 I was senior enough to not be furloughed, moved down quite a bit in seniority. But
what are you flying?
737.
737, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I know anyone. Dave Whitwer was on the 737. He took a leave of absence and went back to work for SEIC, supporting the safety contract at NASA. But he's fairly junior. He hired in, I think, 3 years ago.
I don't know. The name is. Was he hired? When did he go to work? And then when did he?
So he was working for ExpressJet. He was with ExpressJet for the mid '90s up till 3 or 4 years ago. I'm not exactly.
Okay. I may know him and I may not. We have a guy at Legacy Continental, and he's still here. And I'm gonna forget his name.
Yeah, most of the people.
He worked for NASA, he went to TSTI, got a aircraft pilot training, transferred to A&M, got an aerospace engineering degree, and went to work for NASA and trained the shuttle astronauts. He was in that whole group that did the training.
Yes. I think I know who you're talking about, but I can't come up with a name.
He lives up in North Texas. His wife is she is the facility administrator for the University of North Texas, up in Denison.
Yeah, most of the people I know that were Heritage Continental are flying overseas routes, or were flying overseas routes.
Yeah, I don't want to commute, so I'm not going to really fly on the wide bodies until I can hold them out of Houston. And I've been senior enough to fly the 767 out of Houston for 4 or 5 years now. I just missed a string of vacancies that we had, and then the vacancies went to senior for the last couple of years. But after this, when we bounce back with the early retirements, I will have a better opportunity to get into the wide bodies earlier than I would have if folks would have stayed. So I will probably go to the wide bodies after we recover from this. But Kevin, it's Kevin. I think his name is Kevin as well as mine. I'll have to.
So one of the names I know that's flying wide bodies is Ron Schaller.
Yeah,
and he's been on them for a while. I mean, 10 years plus. He's been holding them out of Houston. And then Bill Bowman just retired a year ago.
I think I know Bill Bowman. I'd have to look and see
Yeah.
what his name is. But he was actually quite up. He was in the training when they were training the shuttle guys, whatever the lead guy that ran the simulations, ran the whole
He was a sim supervisor.
Well, he didn't just run the simulator. He actually ran the whole event.
Right. That's the sim supervisor.
That included
the controllers, included.
Yep.
Right. That title's sim supervisor. And I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and I can't find his name.
Yeah, it's getting late, and my daughter's alarm goes off at 5:30, and I have trouble going back to sleep after that.
Yeah, I will. I'm getting Deirdre's texting me as well. So good night.
Good night, all.
All righty.
Have a good one.
Talk to you later.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Night. Bye.